This young man, after using all his luck, managed to summon an SSR-level celestial demon with a rate of 0.0006% only to be immediately hit by a truck out of nowhere. When Junsu woke up, he found himself lying in a hospital room. That's right, he was hit by a truck. Just as he remembered that a nurse walked in. "Soldier Kim, you're awake!" "Wait a moment, I'll call the doctor," she said before stepping outside. What was going on? Why did she call me Soldier Kim? Junsu, confused, walked to the end of the bed. Looking at the patient information board, it read, Soldier Kim Nam, 22 years old, diagnosed with joint dislocation and concussion from an accident. How could they write that I'm Soldier Kim? Junsu returned to the bedside. He felt guilty for turning the Soldier's Kim into experience points for the celestial demon, yet he had become Soldier Kim himself. How could this be? While moving, Junsu accidentally bumped his foot against the leg of the chair, causing him to cry out in pain like a pig being slaughtered. The nurse heard Junsu scream and rushed in. "Soldier Kim, you shouldn't move yet." The doctor had arrived and, seeing the scene, smiled. "You were hit by a truck, but fortunately your injuries are minor. But we still need to do further tests. You'll need an MRI and a magical vision test." What kind of magic test? Junsu got angry and shouted. Before he could even process that, he quickly faced another dilemma. Hospital fees, emergency room charges, CT scans, X-rays, and other expenses totaled 22,370,569 won. Hearing that number, Junsu's mouth twitched. "What, I was only here for 4 days and it's already 22 million. You don't have insurance, so you have to pay all the costs yourself." The receptionist explained, "What do you mean you don't have insurance? Every South Korean citizen has health insurance," she said, a bit confused. "Don't you have Legion insurance or Magic Tower insurance?" "Right, Legion or Magic Tower insurance," Junsu was about to retort, when suddenly he remembered he had heard those terms before. Where did I hear that? Legion, the Second Academy, Magic Tower, the Holy Association. It's the setting of Axon's soul. In a world where gods have abandoned humanity, mysterious science has developed rapidly, the earth is polluted, and monsters roam. Humans must modify their bodies to survive. In short, it's a very difficult world to survive in, yet here I am having crossed into it. Junsu, in despair, stood in the middle of the road and shouted loudly, then struggled to drag himself back to his place, thinking he had gone to sleep with the joy of obtaining a celestial demon, but had instead become a test character. Perhaps this is the punishment from the gods for transforming the Soldier's Kim. Looking at the room, which was as small as a nostril, Junsu felt even more hopeless. This room was even older than his old apartment. How could Soldier Kim be so poor? His body was weak and he had no money. What was he supposed to do? And if this really is Axon's soul, it won't be long before events like nuclear wars, space rifts, or the resurrection of ancient gods will soon occur, turning this place into a hell. I don't even know how I ended up here. But if I just stay put, I will definitely die. Suddenly, a question popped into Jisu's head. He immediately reached for a pen on the table, placing his other hand on the table. "I need to check before it's too late," he resolved silently. Despite his trembling arm, Junsu decisively jabbed the sharp end of the pen into the hand resting on the table, then gritted his teeth and waited for the result. Quickly, the wound made by the pen began to close and then completely vanished, along with a notification appearing stating that the wound had healed. I knew it would work. Junsu felt secretly pleased. The reason he had nurtured countless Soldiers Kim was that Soldier Kim was a free test character, the only character without basic traits. However, Junsu could unlock traits and dismiss them. Therefore, he could freely nurture Soldiers Kim more than other characters. For a player relying on strategy like him, Soldiers Kim were easier to use than other rare characters. This means healing the wounds has activated the recovery of the injuries you have endured. So far, Junsu happily discarded the heavy bandages and removed the wraps because his body is now completely healed. Now I am a Soldier of Kim. I can acquire any traits as long as I earn them. In this world, being poor and powerless equates to death. Or if unlucky, but Junsu will not let that happen. He has knowledge from wasting 10,000 hours on the game Ace of Soul when he was a free player with the body of a Soldier Kim. There's even a straight path from rank 115,689 to rank 9. The very next day, Junsu arrived at the player recruitment office where Choi Sel is the director. Looking at Junsu's profile and then at him with a scrutinizing gaze, the Soldier Kim said, "Is this your first time at our player recruitment office?" "Yes, I intend to participate in the mana purification project," Junsu replied, internally lamenting that in such terrible games he must earn money first. "'Cause I only have this body. So the only thing I can do is earn a large sum of money. It can be called mana purification. But do you understand what dungeon raiding really requires? While saying that, he leaned back in his chair. Oh yes, I know you know, but in your CV, there's nothing at all. Junsu appeared confused, thinking to himself that of course he knows how terrible this job is. And the tainted mana is the reason why monsters can invade Ascension. Dungeon raiding involves cleaning up the trash that releases a large amount of tainted mana. Prolonged exposure to mana can be fatal or cause mutations, making this job extremely dangerous. All right? As soon as there are enough people, I will assign you to a team, Choisel said while reminding Junsu before he left. But are you sure? I have seen countless people like you walk into this place. For money, and in the end their souls are completely empty. Don't worry. I might even be better than you, Junsu confidently replied and turned away, chuckling to himself. Playing blood games as a free player is the specialty of Soldier Kim with 10,000 hours of playtime, you know. Soon after, Junsu was assigned to a crazy task leading a team that had just met, demonstrating that he is the rookie in our team, huh? Oh yes, I guess so. I'm just here because I was assigned to this team. The rough deer grabbed Junsu by the collar. Is this your playground? Where is the determination behind your eyes? You better not ask me to save you after a mutation. If I detect any signs of mutation, I will deal with you. All right, I will remember that. Junsu replied, letting it go, thinking to himself, scaring the newbie, huh? In the game or in real life, it's all the same, isn't it? But why is this L-level character here? He looked normal even before awakening his character. Oh dear, the deer shouldn't treat the newbies like that. We are already short on manpower. So we must utilize every possible support. The hedgehog, who has 5 years of dungeon cleaning experience, stepped forward to rescue Junsu in case he could help us. Look at him. Look at him. Not causing trouble for us is already a big relief. The deer flicked its tongue and then let Junsu go, saying to the whole team, all right. We have exactly 4 days to clean up the 5 polluted areas. Hurry up. That jerk is even more difficult than in the game. Junsu was glaring at the deer when Hedgehog chimed in. Your shoulder is comforting. Don't mind what he does outside. He's just stiff like that, but he's really nice. Oh yes, Junsu replied, feeling his anger ease a bit. So he didn't think much more and followed everyone to do the task. The deer led the team to an abandoned station from which a smell emanated that made anyone standing nearby gag. I will open the door, everyone get ready. The deer commanded and then used a card to open the dungeon door. Upon seeing the low-level polluted slime monsters, everyone raised their shovels to prepare for battle, with only Junsu standing back to observe. The basic principle when cleaning polluted mana or polluted slime monsters is that although they are very weak, the reason they are tough is that they don't wither until the mana core is found. Inside, after struggling to deal with the slimes in vain, as the more they hit them, the more they multiplied, the cleanup team began to panic. Find their mana core. How to find it? If this drags on, we'll be infected with polluted mana. A young man was about to be attacked by a slime when he suddenly heard a voice from behind. Step back, I won't take responsibility. After the warning, Junsu ran up and struck down between the young man's legs with his shovel. The slime is right there. Instead of continuing to replicate like before, it directly vanished, revealing a striking yellow mana core. In the following moments, Junsu single-handedly dealt with the slimes, leaving his teammates in awe. What the hell, in one hit, he wiped out all the slimes? How could that be? Junsu continued to wield the shovel, secretly feeling proud. Of course it was possible. Before defeating the monsters, he had learned a few important principles while gathering some necessary attributes. First, the task of collecting attributes. It's just like in the game, as long as you meet certain conditions, it's fine. So 2 days before conquering the dungeon, Junsu crawled on the ground looking for 1 coin to collect attributes, hunting for treasure, and sniffing trash cans to gather toxin resistance attributes. Secondly, Junsu could have a total of 6 attributes, and he could switch between them whenever he wanted by activating the treasure hunting attribute. He could see the opponent's weakness through the mana core, which allowed him to completely eliminate the slimes in a flash, then activate toxin resistance to resist the polluted mana sticking to him during the cleanup. Although there were supportive attributes working all day, still left Junsu exhausted on the ride home. Hedgehog proactively approached Junsu's seat to chat. Today we gotta go home early, thanks to you. Just looking at you makes me see how amazing you are. Are you waiting for an awakening like the deer? Junsu smiled and replied, It's not like that. I know how to do it thanks to my military experience. If that's the case, you're really good, Hedgehog admired. At the same time, 2 horns suddenly sprouted from his head. The signs of mutation around him were becoming more severe. It seemed he had been exposed to too much tainted mana, Junsu thought as he voiced this suggestion. You don't look well. Why don't you take a break, Mai? Hedgehog waved his hand, smiling bitterly. No, I'd rather not. Facing mutation is better than facing those debt collectors. It makes sense there aren't many reasons for someone to do this. Junsu decided not to mention this issue any further, but what had to come eventually did. 4 days later, the team members except for Junsu were all somewhat affected by the tainted mana. Especially Hedgehog. His body was gradually growing larger. His breath was rapid and his eyes became cloudy. I told him not to push himself too hard. While Junsu was observing Hedgehog Deer struck up a conversation, his attitude was friendly, quite different from the first time. "You seem enthusiastic. Is it because you're still young? I never thought you would be able to do your job well. It's all thanks to everyone." Junsu forced a smile in response, thinking to himself that it was thanks to the new attributes he gained after clearing out the monsters that made his job easier now. Junsu's gaze shifted to Deer, who also seemed tired. Was it because he was ignoring his own condition? Hedgehog suddenly shouted loudly, then clutched his head and growled. The sharp quills on his body were protruding more and more, and the others in the team set aside their work to surround him. Han asked, "Don't tell me that a possibility appeared in Junsu's mind." Deer seemed to share the same thought as Junsu. He rushed to Hedgehog with a serious expression, trying to persuade him to stay calm and get out of here. Hedgehog turned to look at Deer. His eyes no longer held any warmth and resembled a bloodthirsty wild beast with sharp teeth, and then he roared. The gentle Hedgehog had now transformed into a giant, mutated hedgehog. It seemed he had lost all reason. "If we don't defeat him, we won't be able to get out of here." Junsu hurriedly checked his attribute panel because all the new attributes he had gained were used to clear out the monsters, so none would help in a fight. No matter how he thought about it, Junsu looked at Hedgehog, who was gazing at him with affectionate eyes, and internally cried out, "Oh no, this is bad." Junsu was punched by the mutated hedgehog, sending him flying backward, and he spat out a large mouthful of blood, fearing that the difference in strength was too great. At this rate, he would be done for. The system notification indicated that he had gained stamina. He had acquired a trait upon seeing this notification. Junsu suddenly regained his senses as if he had caught a lifeline. He thought, "That's right, I have a trait." But it was still too early to give up. He quickly opened his trait panel. "To survive, I must think of a way to defeat that thing. First, I need to remove some traits. Next, strength will be useful right now. The Heart of Mana will help control mana. Stamina will reduce damage taken. Absorb mana will allow me to absorb mana. Deep breathing will help recover more mana. Finally, the last missing piece, resistance to taint." After adjusting the traits, Junsu immediately stood up and stared at the mutated hedgehog, shouting, "Come here, you bastard." The mutated hedgehog, of course, would not disappoint Junsu. It charged quickly toward him. Junsu focused on the mutated hedgehog, raising the spear in his hand behind him. Emitting a green light, the system notification activated the trait of strength, multiplying his power by 10 times. He waited for the mutated hedgehog to enter the attack range. With both hands, Junsu gripped the spear tightly and struck it hard toward the creature, sending it flying backward. Junsu joyfully thought, "Good, it's effective. I can do this." However, this joy did not last more than a few seconds as Junsu saw the mutated hedgehog suddenly curl up in midair and spin at high speed. However, this joy did not last for a few seconds as Junsu saw the mutated hedgehog in the air suddenly curl up and spin at high speed. Like a deadly spiked wheel racing towards him. "What the hell is this?" Junsu shouted in panic. Then he saw the spiky wheel using a protruding rock to bounce up high, and the landing point was exactly where he was standing. Oh damn, Junsu could only exclaim that before the spiked wheel fell down, plowing the ground into many shattered pieces. After that blow, the spiky wheel transformed back into the mutated hedgehog. Looking at the result it had created, the notification system activated the endurance state. The power was amplified tenfold thanks to the endurance state. Junsu had managed to endure a dangerous blow from the mutated hedgehog and jumped into the air above it. Even with endurance, it still hurt like hell. While speaking, Junsu used a method of trading blows, wildly launching 2 fists towards the mutated hedgehog, clearly knowing that if he stopped now, he would be done for with no way out but to keep attacking at this moment. A spike on the mutated hedgehog suddenly changed direction towards Junsu and abruptly launched this attack too unexpectedly. Junsu could only react by leaning aside to dodge. But he still got grazed by the sharp spike on his shoulder, tearing his shirt and leaving a bleeding wound on his skin. What was even more horrifying was, the mutated hedgehog had more spikes aimed at Junsu, launching them, not giving him any chance to react. Junsu was immediately pierced by a bunch of sharp spikes, causing him to painfully fly backward and fall to the ground just a little more, just a little more. Inside, Junsu kept urging himself. He struggled to get up, and rushed towards the mutated hedgehog to land a punch only after this punch. His right hand was rendered useless. But it didn't inflict any harm on the mutated hedgehog. Instead, it made it even more agitated. The mutated hedgehog furiously aimed its spikes at Junsu and launched them. Causing his left arm to be crushed, nearly severed at the shoulder, the pain overwhelmed Junsu, and he collapsed on the ground, screaming in agony. Indeed, he couldn't win against the mutated hedgehog. Silently, Junsu helplessly lay on the ground, watching the mutated hedgehog clench its fists into a large punch and slam down. Suddenly, Junsu remembered when he used to play Ascension. He would laugh and say, come here, I will defeat them all." Just with the soldiers of Kim, at that moment his mind was incredibly clear. He seemed to realize something returning to when he used to play games. Everything was so easy, just one touch could take down the monsters. He never thought about the feelings of the character, just simply pushed the character to extremes. Under the pretext of effective training, but now he understood. That one must endure pain to achieve a moderate state. There was no way to win without paying a price. All of this happened in the blink of an eye when Junsu regained his senses. He saw the large fist of the mutated hedgehog about to strike him. For this, Junsu suddenly raised one arm to block. This was an arm no less than that of the mutated hedgehog. The mutated hedgehog was momentarily stunned when it saw its attack easily blocked and was unexpectedly hit by Junsu, sending him flying. Junsu felt empowered. Both ends of his arms had healed unusually. The difference was that they were abnormally large, causing his body proportions to be slightly unbalanced. The notification system activated the mutated muscle state. Junsu clenched his fists tightly, silently stating that the reason he attacked recklessly was because of the state he could obtain by pushing his limits through activating the mana heart state. And the strength to gain mutated muscles was all to prepare for this moment. As for the mutated hedgehog, after being knocked down, it quickly got angry and stood up, charging towards Junsu to throw a punch. Junsu raised an arm to easily block it. He smirked and said it's no longer effective. Then he continuously punched towards the mutated hedgehog, which could only raise both hands to passively block. Seeing this, Junsu opened his mouth to provoke, "Stab me, go ahead, I dare you." The mutated hedgehog, angered, chose not to continue taking hits, but instead attacked, causing a bunch of sharp spikes to suddenly sprout from its fist and punched Junsu hard in the chest. This time he couldn't withstand it, and was knocked down to the ground with a few blood holes on his chest. Junsu coughed up a large mouthful of blood, silently thinking that it still hadn't used its full strength. Although he was knocked down again, Junsu still had something to gain. The system notified him that he had acquired a mutated body trait. Junsu immediately replaced the mutated body trait in the trait table, and in an instant his body began to grow larger, completely symmetrical with his arms. Junsu stood up again, smiling at the mutated hedgehog, and said, "Thanks to you, I've become stronger." Then both sides rushed into a contest of strength, and the result was that neither side gained the upper hand. Junsu laughed and said, "Now we're evenly matched." After that, the sound of punches continued to ring out, causing the deer who was fainting on the ground to wake up. What was happening? It was so noisy, the deer thought, turning its head to look at the source of the sound and seeing Junsu. Junsu and the mutated hedgehog were trading blows, neither willing to back down. The deer was astonished at this scene, thinking, "What is that guy, a superhero or something? How could he fight evenly with a mutant?" Just then, Junsu and the mutated hedgehog were both knocked down to the ground. Junsu sat on the ground, breathing heavily, looking at the mutated hedgehog that had stood up still, having the strength to raise its head and scream, thinking to himself, "This is not easy at all. I have grown to the size of that thing. But at this level, I am still at a disadvantage." He gritted his teeth, thinking that it was a bit dangerous, but there was no other choice. Junsu immediately stood up and softly shouted, "Activate the trait of resistance to corruption." The system notified him that the status of mana resistance development had been activated. He had to believe in himself, Junsu told himself, and softly shouted again, "Purify." Immediately, under the astonished gaze of the deer, Junsu's entire body mutated. The process happened very quickly and was completed. The system notified him of the mutated status of Soldier Kim. Junsu, in the form of mutated Soldier Kim, threw his head back and screamed as if gathering energy, then shot straight towards the mutated hedgehog with overwhelming power. The mutated hedgehog was completely annihilated without any chance of resistance. After that, Junsu's gaze turned towards the deer and he walked step by step. What is that, a monster? He had transformed into a mutant while fighting with one that was still in a state of shock. The deer suddenly felt cold, as if being watched by a fierce beast. It raised its head and saw Junsu staring at it, making it panic and think, "How can this be?" The deer looked at the form of mutated Soldier Kim, and a wave of extreme fear surged within it. Now it only had one thought in its mind: to escape from here. Just as it turned to prepare to crawl away, it discovered that it was covered by a large shadow. The deer mechanically turned its head and saw Junsu standing right behind it, extending a huge hand towards it. Thinking it was surely going to die, the deer helplessly closed its eyes. But after a few seconds, it felt no impact, so it opened its eyes again and was surprised to see Junsu. Junsu had returned to his normal body. After transforming back, he felt as if all his strength had been drained, falling forward and softly whispering, "I did it." The trait of resistance to corruption is the final defense. If you possess a mutated form along with the mutated body and erase the resistance to corruption, you will receive a mutation. People often believe that once you become a mutant, you can never return to normal. But Junsu was different. He had changed his trait and knew that as long as he maintained a bit of rationality, he could change his trait. That was how he exchanged mutation for resistance to corruption and returned to his human form. A moment later, Junsu crawled up. He was tired, leaning against a wall and silently lamenting. It felt like all his bones and muscles were shifting. He never wanted to go through that again. Struggling to stand up, Junsu suddenly saw a large purple orb about the size of a ping-pong ball. The system notified him of harvesting a level 1 mana core. Junsu immediately grinned widely, feeling joyful, but it felt like all my bones and muscles were shifting. I never want to experience that again while trying to stand up in Junsu's hands. Suddenly, another large purple orb about the size of a ping-pong ball appeared, and the system announced the harvest of a level 1 mana core. Junsu immediately grinned happily, however. I truly deserve the first-class mana core that I received. Indeed, it's beneficial to do this cleaning job. At that moment, the deer and 2 others approached, and the deer stared at Junsu, asking if he was okay. "You've turned into a mutant. What happened?" Junsu calmed down from his joyful state and turned to the 3, thinking it would be troublesome if there were any strange rumors about him. He spoke up, Yeah. I bet on being able to come back. I was really lucky." The deer didn't believe it, asking what kind of luck that was. "But that way is too." Before he could finish, Junsu took out a bunch of small golden orbs like marbles, handed them to the deer, and said, "Here, take this." Then he turned around, waved his hand, and said, "Now go back. I want some fresh air." Behind him, the 2 next to the deer exclaimed, "A mana core of rank 0. Wow, is there really that much?" Junsu chuckled to himself, thinking that since he saved their lives and gave them some mana cores, they would keep his secret right. The deer silently watched Junsu's departing figure, deep in thought. The next morning, in the player recruitment room, Cho smiled ingratiatingly, rubbing his hands together, and said to Junsu, "Oh my, I heard you went through some hardships. It must have been terrible." Junsu smiled and replied, Yeah, it was a bit tiring in the end." Besides that, he was somewhat suspicious, thinking, "Why is he suddenly flattering me like this?" Cho Sale spoke up. "Anyway, you should have told us that you were a superhero. We could have assigned you a proper job instead of cleaning." Hearing that, Junsu realized he thought he was a superhero. In Ascension, a superhero awakens abilities that allow them to possess powerful mana in this world. Where strength equals power and status, superheroes are basically nobility. There's a reason for him to think that, because only a superhero can defeat a mutant. Although I won thanks to my state, Cho'Gel turned around and took out a prepared paper bag, smiling and saying, "Then I guess I should reward you for your cleaning." "That would be good," Junsu replied, laughing internally, deciding to let him think he was a superhero for now. Cho Sale pulled out several stacks of money from the paper bag and placed them on the table while explaining, "You cleaned 5 areas and we take a 20% fee from the total of 50 million won. If divided evenly among the people in the group, I would give you 5 million, but this time we will do it a bit differently. We will only take 5% from your share and give you an additional bonus. We hope to continue working with you." Junsu didn't hear clearly. His eyes were fixed on the pile of money on the table, silently exclaiming, 12 million, it's great to be a superhero. After a while, Junsu happily took the large sum of money and left the room, still thinking about how to spend it. Suddenly, a man approached and said, "You seem happy. You must have received quite a bit of money." Junsu recognized this man as one of the people he had worked with last time, so he smiled modestly and said, Yeah, we completed the mission." The man spoke up, "Actually, the reason I came here is that I want to ask you for a favor." Junsu suspiciously asked, "A favor?" The man replied, "Well, my wife is really sick, so I was wondering if you could lend me some money. I'm sorry to ask you for this. Even though we only worked together once, please. The man even bowed down in this situation. Junsu frowned slightly. In this world, even though we only worked together once, please say so, and the man bent down in this situation. Junsu frowned slightly in this world. Helping others when you don't know them well is risky. Who knows when they might stab you in the back? Just taking care of myself is already difficult. But I feel terrible for missing out on him. This man in front of me, Junsu, hesitated a bit, but a fleeting sense of compassion overcame his reason. He grabbed the man's hand with both hands and laughed, saying, "Oh, come on, don't do that, you're older than me. Even though it's not much, please take this amount." As he spoke, Junsu stuffed a large pile of low-grade monocores into the man's hands until it got dark. In a hidden corner, the man asked Junsu in the morning about the pile of monocores. He laughed loudly, saying, "How foolish. I just pretended to be a poor old man and he gave me all this money. Ha ha, surprisingly, this guy is not alone. He also has a deer and 2 others with him." The deer laughed and asked if he was new to the job. The man spoke up in the morning, "I bet if I say my child is sick again, he'll give me more. But it's annoying that he gets paid more than we do. He gives us a paltry amount and pretends to be a superhero to take our share." The deer chimed in, "He's not a superhero." The man asked the deer in the morning, "We should teach him a lesson. Do you have any ideas?" The deer took the pile of monocores, crushed them with force, and wickedly said, "Since we know his secret, let's show him how scary this world can be." Junsu was completely unaware that a plot against him was underway. He was currently lying in bed, proud of his help from the morning. It's really nice to be a good person. At this rate, I will become a hero in this world. A few days later in the morning, at a large hotel, Junsu lay on a single bed by the window, enjoying the refreshing sensation of being massaged by the staff. With the warm sunlight shining on him, having money is indeed bliss. I never thought I would have a day to be massaged in a place like this. The game is indeed much better than real life, but when the massage staff reached his left bicep, Junsu felt pain and almost cried out. He had spent 3 days resting at the hotel. Yet it still hurt. From now on, I have to think twice before using any mutation traits. Changing traits is not entirely as I imagined. The body's changes depend on the severity of the side effects. The more serious the side effects, the greater the body's changes. The problem is, will I still be alive after limiting the use of traits? While pondering, Junsu turned around to let the massage staff work on his back and accidentally saw a man with 2 black dragon tattoos on his chest lying on a lounge chair by the pool on the first floor. Next to him were 2 rows of people dressed in black standing guard. Wait, aren't they from the gang? Still that arrogant demeanor. Axon's soul is more controlled by local gangs than by the law, which is understandable since there are too many around here. The people have to rely on superheroes. I have managed to survive just barely, but only relying on traits in such a dangerous place. It was really foolish that he suddenly remembered something and smiled slightly, saying, "Aren't there still items?" By the afternoon, Junsu was at a shop where the girl at the counter smiled and asked if he was there to sell items. Junsu replied, "Yes, I have a few monster byproducts." The girl at the counter spoke up. "Let me say this first, I won't buy any manicores of lower grades. I know what I want to sell is this." As he spoke, Junsu took out a large blue orb from his backpack, bigger than his fist, and presented it to the girl at the counter. The girl was incredulous and exclaimed when she saw the orb. "This is a level 2 manicore." Junsu smiled and said, "That's right, take a look." Inside, he felt happy, thinking how delightful it was to see her surprised. The effort he put into refining it in the hotel room had paid off. He had merged everything he had, and as a result, he now possessed a level 2 mana core. A moment later, Junsu looked at the stack of bills in the girl's hand and happily thought, "The prices vary depending on the level. Selling it at the highest price is the way to go." The girl handed the stack of money to Junsu and said, "This is the price for the core 4.77 million won." Junsu accepted the money and smiled, saying, "Thank you." Then Junsu asked her if she sold any weapons or armor. The girl smiled and replied, "Of course, please follow this way." After that, Junsu was led by the girl into an inner room. As soon as he stepped in, he saw a variety of weapon styles displayed on wooden shelves along the walls. "They have everything here." He thought to himself, "All the basic items I used in the game are here." The girl said, "Take your time for sure." Junsu replied, feeling a surge of excitement inside, "It's time to equip myself." By the time night fell, Junsu left the shop with a backpack full of weapons and contentedly said, "Now I have weapons. It finally feels like I'm playing Assassin's Creed." Just then, a beautiful long-haired girl hurriedly ran towards Junsu and asked, "Excuse me, are you a mercenary? I need help." Junsu waved his hand and replied, "Oh, I'm not. You should find someone else." Just as he finished speaking, he saw the long-haired girl pull out a thick stack of money. "I came here with a request, but the gang is making me scared. Can you protect me back to my place?" Yunsu's eyes were fixed on the stack of money in the long-haired girl's hand. 500,000 for a bodyguard, just like a daily quest. Anyway, since I have my gear now, I should give it a try. Thinking that, Junsu placed a hand on the long-haired girl's shoulder and smiled, saying, "I can't ignore a lady in danger. Let's go." The long-haired girl, hearing this, happily chased after Junsu, thanking him afterward. Junsu followed the long-haired girl and walked into a deserted alley. He thought to himself, why is she in such a remote place? Not to mention people, there wasn't even an ant around. Suddenly, the long-haired girl quickened her pace and ran into a turn. Junsu hurriedly followed and saw a pitch-black alley. He could only vaguely see the silhouette of the long-haired girl ahead. Thanks to the streetlight outside in the dark alley, the long-haired girl's urging voice echoed, "They're coming, hurry up." Junsu walked in, complaining, "It's too dark, I can't see anything." As soon as he stepped into the dark alley, a system notification appeared. "You have acquired the night vision trait." "You have acquired a trait," Junsu happily thought. "Oh, I can see now. I didn't expect to acquire a trait. Your night vision has improved significantly. Everything in the dark alley is becoming clearer to you, and what surprises you is that you see the long-haired girl now aiming a gun at you, smiling and saying, 'You're more cautious than I thought.'" Junsu was startled and thought, "Who is this woman with a gun? Wait, is it a trap?" Junsu slowly backed away but bumped into something that stopped him. He turned around and saw it was a deer. He humorously looked at you and asked, "Where are you going, Junior?" At the same time, the lights in the alley turned on, revealing 3 more men stepping out from the shadows. Junsu stared at the deer and spoke. The deer smiled and said, "Nice to see you again. Don't you think so?" Junsu frowned and questioned, "What have I done for you to do this?" The deer laughed and replied, "Nothing at all. I just think you're too foolish. There's no other reason, you gullible fool." Before he could finish, Junsu took advantage of his moment of distraction. He slipped past and ran away. The deer reacted angrily, shouting, "That bastard! Starting a conversation and then running away, huh? Shoot him." The long-haired girl, hearing this, did not hesitate to aim her gun at the fleeing Junsu and pulled the trigger immediately. A bullet struck Junsu in the back. Causing him to cry out in pain and fall forward, the deer and his companions rushed over to check. When they saw Junsu lying motionless in a pool of blood, the deer angrily shouted, "What the hell is this? You should have shot him in the leg, not in the body." The long-haired girl argued, "It's better than letting him escape." The deer muttered angrily, "Damn it, he seems to be dead." A man spoke up. "He turned back into a human after mutating. Surely some sorcerers would be willing to buy this kid's corpse. If we could capture him, we would have made a lot more money." Another man chimed in, "Just rob his bag and equipment." The deer sighed and said, "It's useless. Just do it for now." However, when they looked back at where Junsu was to act, they were startled to find only a pool of blood left. He had vanished. What the hell, where is his body? At that moment, a sound of shattering glass echoed. The lights illuminated the alley as something broke, plunging the alley back into darkness. One man beside the deer was ambushed unexpectedly from behind and collapsed to the ground without a sound. The others panicked and shouted, "What was that?" Huang speculated, "Don't tell me he's still alive." Junsu's voice suddenly rang out, "I'm still alive." He looked fine, showing no signs of being shot. One of his pupils had turned yellow. The 6 traits he currently had included strong strength endurance, a heart mana night vision, and mana recovery at this moment. Junsu smiled and said, "I can't die because of someone seeking revenge." He felt lucky for having bought a bulletproof vest at the store earlier. Besides that, after taking a shot from the long-haired girl, Junsu had gained a new trait, feigning death. Thanks to this trait, Junsu managed to outsmart the deer and his group, causing them to let their guard down. He successfully created an advantage for himself. The deer and his companions were now without streetlights, panicking like headless flies, looking around and shouting. "He broke the streetlight. I can't see anything. Where the hell is he?" Junsu suddenly appeared behind the deer and softly asked, "Looking for me?" The deer reflexively turned around and Junsu immediately threw a punch at him, shouting, "I saved your life, now I'm going to take back that deer." The deer chode took Junsu's punch and fell to the ground. He quickly sat up, wiping the blood off his face while cursing, and rushed towards Junsu, swinging his leg to kick him. Junsu swiftly dodged to the side to avoid it. "You should be grateful that I saved you. Do you think it's right to try to kill your own savior?" As he spoke, Junsu delivered a powerful punch that sent Cho, the deer, sprawling on the ground again. Just as he was about to follow up with a kick to the deer, a gunshot suddenly rang out. Not far away, a long-haired girl raised her gun, the barrel still smoking, and shouted, "You're over there, right? Are you okay?" Junsu stopped silently, looking at the blood from the bullet wound on his arm. I was too careless. In Ascension, the scariest thing is not the monsters or mutants, but humans. I've been too naive and trusted others too easily. I won't make that mistake again. Telling himself this, Junsu took out a gun and fired 2 shots in quick succession, one hitting the long-haired girl's wrist, injuring her. Unable to hold the gun anymore, the other bullet struck the shoulder of the man next to the long-haired girl, causing him to fall to the ground in pain, groaning pitifully. Seeing that the two had lost their threat, Junsu satisfiedly said, "That's enough." Next, just as he was about to eliminate the biggest threat, the deer, he suddenly heard a whooshing sound from behind. Instinctively, Junsu turned around and saw the deer's leg just inches away from his head. Reflexively, Junsu raised both hands to shield his face and was kicked back. Quickly getting up, he looked towards the deer and was startled. He realized that the deer's appearance had changed in several ways. Its legs had transformed. Junsu silently acknowledged a serious truth: the deer had awakened as a level 1 superhuman, no longer the comfortable opponent he once was, and the gravity of the situation was evident on his face. "This is serious," he cursed the deer. "This damn game. Superhumans awaken because all characters can go through the superhuman awakening phase, which is considered a basic development stage of this game. In the world of Ascension, a level 1 superhuman is strong enough to threaten any ordinary person, only carrying a rifle. In other words, I have to fight a superhuman with nothing but this ordinary body." At this moment, the deer tilted its head and glared at Junsu, saying, "I will kill you." Its figure then vanished from Junsu's sight. Junsu panicked, recalling the deer's characteristics. The deer can move in all directions. Moving in all directions, the user can utilize their incredibly flexible legs to move comfortably in any direction. Considering the current situation, Junsu deduced that it was using its all-direction movement to climb the walls of the building. Sure enough, as he looked up, he saw the deer descending from above, aiming for him, shouting, "I will kill you," in a powerful attack. Junsu knew he could only dodge, so he quickly jumped to the side, narrowly avoiding the blow. The deer angrily glared at Junsu. "You think you can dodge, but this time you won't." With that, the deer rushed towards Junsu, delivering a kick that connected with an object. The deer smiled, but that smile quickly stiffened when he realized Junsu had used a weapon to block his kick instead of being hit by it. Facing him, Junsu smirked and said, "Sorry, but I have no intention of letting you." The beast inside him felt lucky, thinking to himself, buying a baton is a good idea. Remembering a few hours ago, Junsu stood in front of the weapon rack in the store, pondering whether buying a gun was worth it or not, but because the warrior Kim is a character with the profession of a warrior, even if I am stronger, my shooting skills will only reach a certain limit. To be cautious, I will buy another warrior-grade weapon. In the end, Junsu chose to buy an additional baton. Returning to the present, the fact proved that buying a baton was completely correct for Junsu. Each character has weapons and attributes that are more effective with their profession. That's why to defeat the deer, I need to use melee weapons and attributes suitable for a warrior. Silently, Junsu raised the baton high and struck down hard on the deer, causing it to fall to the ground for the 3rd time. The system announced that you have collected 11 attributes. Seeing the system board, Junsu joyfully thought, all right. The first specialization attribute for my profession is the attack attribute. After that, Junsu's confidence skyrocketed as he charged towards the deer, continuously using several slashing attacks. He slashed horizontally to attack the deer, but all were evaded by the deer's agility. Then the deer counterattacked, kicking towards Junsu. Seeing this attack from the deer, Junsu silently shouted, "Here's my chance. Should I dodge? No, I can't stop now. Even if I break a bone, I must keep attacking." Making a decision, Junsu gritted his teeth and took a risk. He only raised one arm to block the deer's kick and then used his hand to swing the baton hard into its thigh. The system announced that you have collected an attribute. You have collected the combination attribute. In Junsu's heart, he laughed loudly, thinking, here it is. The best attribute built for the warrior profession in the early stages. After that, Junsu immediately used the attack and combination attributes to unleash a storm-like assault towards the deer, making it unable to evade. The more hits it took, the more the pain increased. The deer's consciousness was gradually eroded with each blow. Very quickly, it could no longer endure and weakly opened its mouth to plead, "Please stop." Junsu actually stopped after a full-force strike to the deer's chest. He ceased his attack, seeing the deer lying motionless on the ground. Junsu raised both hands and shouted loudly, "I did it! I have defeated an awakened deer." Suddenly, Junsu's skin turned red as raindrops fell on him, instantly evaporating. What is this feeling? My whole body hurts so much. But I still feel something overflowing in my body. Junsu bent over in pain, crying out, but at the same time he had a suspicion in his mind. Don't tell me. This is the day I learned the cruel truth of the Ace Soul world. The system announced that the level 1 superhuman warrior Kim had awakened, and the amazement passed. Junsu knew he had awakened and felt as joyful as a child, tumbling and shouting, "I am finally a superhuman. Now I can receive high-priced offers from mercenaries, and I can also get bank loans with low interest rates." Suddenly a voice sounded behind him. "Are you done?" Junsu quickly turned around to look at the speaker. When he clearly saw who it was, he frowned and thought, "This guy is Kim Tiet Quyen. He is the second basic character introduced in Ascension after Kim the Warrior, a character from the Enhanced Warrior class who uses guns as their main weapon and specializes in hunting with a prosthetic hand. The problem is, Kim Tiet Quyen is a terrifying figure from the Tiet Quyen gang in the underworld. Since I fought in their territory, I must have provoked them. At this moment, Kim Tiet Quyen questioned, "Did you check this place before coming here to cause trouble?" As soon as he finished speaking, several of his henchmen aimed their guns at Junsu, looking as if they would shoot at the slightest provocation. Seeing this scene, Junsu's face turned pale. "I suddenly got attacked, and I can't just lie here waiting to die." Hearing Junsu's explanation, Kim Tiet Quyen suddenly pulled out a six-shooter, loaded it, and asked, "Oh!" Hearing Junsu explain, Kim Tiet Quyen suddenly pulled out a six-shooter, loaded it, and asked, "Huh? So you say those guys are scarier than the Iron Fist Society?" Junsu was startled, thinking that if he fought in this condition, he would surely die. "I won't give you a chance to react," Kim the Iron Fist said as he raised his gun, aiming straight at your chest, little pup. "You have made a terrible mistake. I will show you what happens if you defile our territory." After saying that, Kim the Iron Fist's expression turned fierce as he prepared to pull the trigger. Then he heard the unusually calm tone of Jisoo. "Oh, is that so? But you've forgotten one thing." While speaking, he grabbed the gun's body, pressed the muzzle against his own chest, and shouted, "I'm not the kind of person who will die easily." After that, he pulled the trigger without hesitation. The gunshot echoed as a bullet pierced through Jisoo's chest. Only then did Kim the Iron Fist react, his face showing disbelief as he thought, "This bastard just shot himself." Meanwhile, facing him, Yunsu had just taken a bullet but remained indifferent, saying, "What is this? It itches." At the same time, the wound from the bullet was healing rapidly. His eyes quickly closed as the notification system registered the regeneration trait. This scene intrigued Kim the Iron Fist, who changed to a smiling face and said, "Oh, look at you, you have an interesting ability." Jutsu thought that the upgraded version of the regeneration trait was something you could acquire when becoming a level 1 superhero. Everything would end when they started to underestimate him. "And I will use a scare tactic," but on the surface he just smirked, pointing at the corpses behind him, saying, "You see, I don't live on luck. I don't care who you are. If you mess with me, Kim the Warrior, you better be prepared." Hearing that, Kim the Iron Fist was not angry at all. He laughed and said, "Kim the Warrior, huh? That's your name. I like your courage. All right, this time I will let you go. But in that case, you will owe me a debt." Then he patted Junsu on the shoulder and leaned in to whisper, "I'm sure you know what that means, right?" Junsu smiled and replied, "Got it, I remember." In his heart, he wondered if he had recognized him. Satisfied with Junsu's answer, Kim the Iron Fist extended his hand toward him, saying, "All right, let's do something together next time." Junsu focused on the hand reaching out to him from Kim the Iron Fist. Kim the Iron Fist was not the kind of person to betray him. Building a relationship here wouldn't be a bad choice. Thinking that, Junsu comfortably shook hands with Kim the Iron Fist and smiled, saying, "Sounds great. See you next time." The next morning, Junsu dressed like he was on vacation at the beach and entered the Jam Seal building of the superheroes. He saw nothing when looking at it in the game, but now it looked magnificent. It was completely different from his town. Just as Junsu was excitedly looking around, a girl in a business suit approached him with a smile. "Thank you for visiting the superhero tower. How can I assist you?" said the female staff member. Junsu's face turned slightly red in surprise as he thought, "What is this? She's so beautiful." But looking at her, she seemed like an NPC. The staff here seemed to have very high qualities. The female staff member, seeing Junsu, stared at him without showing any signs of embarrassment or anger. She maintained a professional smile and gestured toward the right passage where there was a large machine platform. "If you are here to receive your superhero certification, please go to that machine over there to measure your mana and traits." Junsu thanked her and then headed toward the large machine platform. As he walked, he pondered that he hadn't even asked for assistance, but she still guided him. It must be because he looked like a newbie. Anyway, once he got the superhero certification, his real life in Ace Seoul would begin. Suddenly, many gasps echoed. "What is that? Look up at the ceiling, the Saintess is here." Hearing that, Junsu also curiously looked up and saw a bright yellow spot there. In his heart, he secretly doubted that it was just a ship. Wasn't it? At this moment, the yellow light suddenly intensified, shining down on the large circle on the ground, causing everyone to temporarily shield their faces, and then a group of people stepped out from within. Appearing in everyone's sight, Junsu saw these people, especially the girl leading the group, and he couldn't believe it, silently exclaiming that this was the main force of the army. Why is the Saintess here?" Meanwhile, the appearance of these people led to a wave of cheers for the Saintess. It was truly an honor. Unlike them, Junsu couldn't feel joy. He was still in the guidance phase. She was already a Saintess. But as the story continued to unfold, it was revealed that they were a destructive cult disguised as a peaceful religion, and they began to attack the people indiscriminately. At this moment, people began to speculate whether the Saintess came here to measure mana or to extend her Saintess level. She merely smiled and took practical action by walking straight to the large machine platform instead of answering. A few seconds later, the machine platform began to operate. The sound it emitted made Junsu uncomfortable, and he quietly complained that the mana measurement was really fast in the expectant eyes of the crowd. The electronic screen displayed the Saintess's class as Priestess Mana Level 8 with 6 auxiliary attributes, and another round of astonished cheers erupted. "What the hell is this Level 8? She even has 6 attributes. That's insane." The Saintess smiled, enjoying the feeling of being admired by everyone. Junsu looked at the Saintess for a few more seconds before heading towards the machine platform to check his mana, feeling heavy in his heart. He thought to himself that this was not the time for compliments. An 8-level superhuman could be likened to a squadron of aircraft. A national superpower was on the way, and a superhuman with such power could wipe out Seoul in the future. But if he said that now, they would treat him like a madman and throw stones at him. Think about the future later. For now, I'll just measure my mana first. It would attract too much attention if a rookie like me had 6 attributes, so I'll reduce it to 3 instead. The moment Junsu opened his attribute panel to adjust the Saintess had not gone far. She suddenly stopped and turned to look at him. One of the Saintess's team members saw this and asked, "Your Eminence, is there something wrong?" The Saintess continued to stare at Junsu and softly replied that it seemed there was someone she had never met before. Then the Saintess suddenly appeared behind Junsu and spoke up, "You seem to have an interesting ability." Junsu jumped in surprise and exclaimed, "You startled me." But then he panicked, thinking, "Wait, what did she just say to me? Does she feel that I have changed my attributes?" The people around whispered, wondering why the Saintess looked so normal. Just as they were still confused, what surprised them even more was the Saintess took Junsu's hand and asked, "Warrior, what is your name?" Junsu stammered, I am Warrior Kim." Then he panicked, thinking that in Seoul, if the Saintess asked for his name, it was not outside of Junsu's speculation that the Saintess spoke up. "Then, Warrior Kim, on behalf of the former congregation, I will grant you the baptism ceremony. The former master of the Black Gold Throne always longs for those who possess rare powers like you. Submit to him and seek peace in this hellish earth." At the same time, a line of yellow characters on the Saintess's hand began to flow down her arm towards Yuzu. The sounds of admiration and jealousy echoed around as the Holy Maiden personally baptized someone, causing envy among the crowd. However, Junsu, the one involved, gritted his teeth and silently cursed, thinking that if he accepted the baptism and gained the baptismal traits, he would become a holy knight of the congregation. Meanwhile, the congregation of the former priest had lost in the battle against the major forces in Ascension, as if they were forced to buy stocks about to go bankrupt. Unable to accept this, that was the only thought in Junsu's mind right now, so in the astonished eyes of everyone, he decisively withdrew his hand. Then kneeling on one knee, he said, "I refuse the baptism." The Holy Maiden looked stunned, unable to believe her ears, and asked, "Did I hear that wrong?" Junsu replied, "No, I'm serious." After a brief silence, the Holy Maiden spoke, "It's up to you. Serving or rejecting the divine is your freedom." Then she used her hands to help Junsu up and said, "But the former priest has chosen you. If you can't overcome this little worldly dust, then your small freedom will mean nothing." As she spoke, Junsu panicked, realizing where her hand was touching him. Where her hand was making contact suddenly ignited a flame that would continue to burn until the Holy Maiden left. The flame engulfed Jun-Soo's entire body, continuously scorching him, causing him to kneel on the ground, holding his head and crying out in agony, while those around him felt a sense of schadenfreude. They stood by indifferent, watching Jun-Soo struggle within the flames, thinking how pitiful it was for someone so ordinary to dare refuse the baptism, a godless one indeed. The notification system activated the trait. The divine fire forced him to endure the searing pain for refusing the baptism, and Jun-Soo silently lamented that he had anticipated this. But his whole body felt like it was being burned alive. Divine fire was one of the strongest negative states in Ascension. The burning sensation made daily life difficult and unbearable. What other way to resolve this other than going to the Holy Temple to receive the baptism he had refused, thinking of the future, but now he was about to pass out? Just as Jun-Soo's consciousness was about to fade, the girl in the business suit who had welcomed him earlier rushed over, holding a bottle of water, pouring it on his face, and worriedly asked, "Are you okay, warrior?" Jun-Soo suddenly felt a cool sensation on his face, bringing him a sense of comfort, and he regained a bit of clarity, his hazy gaze gradually focusing on the person in front of him. Who is that?" This person had guided him earlier, but due to the divine fire, everyone had kept their distance and no one helped him. He felt grateful to her. That's right, he thought just a little more he could do it. Motivating himself, Jun-Soo tried to sit cross-legged on the ground. The notification system announced that he had received the fire resistance trait. He hadn't refused the baptism thoughtlessly. The negative state of divine fire had the characteristic of growing stronger depending on the amount of mana of the subject. He was just a level 1 warrior, so the divine fire was weak. There were still a few ways to resolve this. The first condition was to gain the fire resistance trait. Now he needed to increase his mana. Silently, Jun-Soo opened his trait panel and changed the trait according to his thoughts. As soon as he finished changing, the flames on him seemed to be provoked and flared up violently, causing him pain and screams. The girl in the business suit saw this and poured 2 bottles of water over Jun-Soo, encouraging him, "You can do it." The effect was remarkably clear thanks to those 2 bottles of water. Jun-Soo regained his composure once more. The cool water amidst the excruciating pain made him focus on this contrasting sensation. Fire and water, the burning pain and cold rationality. According to Jun-Soo's thoughts, the water and fire in front of him intertwined and swirled, ultimately forming a yin-yang pattern. Extinguishing the flames with the mana within him, a loud shout echoed in his heart. Jun-Soo opened his eyes wide, and the pain from the burning flames completely vanished. The notification system announced that he had received the mana shield trait. The girl in the business suit, seeing Jun-Soo stand up, asked, "Oh my, are you okay?" Jun-Soo replied, "Yes, thanks to you, I'm fine." The people around were astonished, exclaiming, "Did he just overcome the divine fire? What is going on? Is he using hacks?" Jun-Soo grinned and quietly said that although it wasn't a complete victory, it was just a temporary solution with a shield, but now he was free from the burning pain. The black flame looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Only warriors can see it. Next. He walked towards the machinery to test his magical power, while others curiously watched the electronic board. The results quickly displayed Warrior Kim, 22 years old. Warrior System Level 1, Magical Power 6 traits. Wow, having 6 traits at Level 1 already. A super rookie is born. That's why the Saintess heard everyone talking. Jun-Soo helplessly rubbed his nose and thought to himself that he stood out too much. My goal is to grow stronger in silence, and because of the magical shield, my number of traits won't decrease. The girl in office attire approached, smiling, and said, "Congratulations, warrior. Since I started working here, this is the first time I've seen someone with 6 traits from the beginning. So let's go get your warrior certification card." A moment later, the girl in office attire pushed a card towards Jun-Soo, who was sitting across from her, and said, "Here is your warrior certification card. Congratulations, you are officially recognized as a warrior." Jun-Soo was overjoyed, tears in his eyes, as he held the card and said, "I worked so hard to get this." The girl in office attire tilted her head and smiled, saying, "Well then, let me announce the privileges for Level 1 warriors." Before she could finish, Jun-Soo interrupted confidently, saying, "I already know all of that. Tax reduction weapon usage privileges, and when leveling up, all types of taxes are waived, free use of all transportation means, and other benefits." The girl in office attire was surprised and said, "Wow, you really have a lot of free time." Jun-Soo smiled and said, "I'm a game doctor. No, I'm a warrior studies doctor." Ha ha ha, then Jun-Soo added, "By the way, I'm the kind of person who doesn't like to waste time," as he glanced at the noisy crowd staring at him outside the glass door. "We have to bring him back to our guild. Can I get your autograph?" The super rookie has to write a special article about him. The girl in office attire also turned to look at the crowd like hungry tigers outside. Junsu asked, "Is there a way to get out quietly?" The girl in office attire stood up and smiled. "Of course. I prepared in advance." Junsu was surprised and asked, "Huh, you prepared already?" The girl in office attire took out a large black cloak and said, "Just follow me." In that moment, Junsu was stunned, his face slightly flushed. After a moment, he put on the cloak and followed the girl in office attire, successfully escaping from the crowd. He expressed his gratitude, saying, "Thank you for caring about me like this, and for giving me an invisibility cloak and a secret path, too." The girl in office attire said, "It's nothing, helping each other is good." System notification: invisibility trait acquired. You have received the invisibility trait. Junsu happily thought to himself, "I never expected to gain such a delicious trait." At this moment, the girl in office attire stopped and pointed towards the path ahead, telling the soldier to just go straight down this road to get outside. "I can only guide you up to here." Junsu bent down and said, "That's enough for today, thank you very much." The girl in office attire smiled and replied, "Yes, please be careful." Junsu watched as the girl in office attire walked away. He chuckled to himself, thinking he never expected to find such a kind person in Ace Seoul. And she was beautiful, too. "In the future, when I get stronger, I must repay her. What was her name again? I think I have her business card from earlier." Junsu remembered the business card and quickly took it out to check. Association Superhuman Manager Big Sozi saw this name. Junsu's face immediately changed again as he looked towards the girl in office attire who had not gone too far. What was this Bixulji? Bixulji is one of the 3 strongest SSR warrior characters in the game. Because it's a swordsman class, it always looks intimidating, but I feel like I've seen her before. It turns out that in the game she always looks fierce, so I couldn't imagine. I never expected Bixulji to be such a kind person. What on earth happened? Meanwhile, on Bixlow's face, a cheerful smile was spreading as he softly said, "Thank goodness the soldier is okay." 1 week later. In order to maintain the magical shield, Junsu had to adjust all the intangible properties, making the process of clearing the dungeon more difficult than ever. If I had used specialized properties to clear the monster lair, it would have been done long ago. But because of that damn corn, I couldn't do anything else. To eliminate the heat poison, I need a rare item called Neta, and it's incredibly expensive. With this kind of grinding and cleaning, how could I possibly afford it? Just then, Junsu's phone rang. It was Choi Seo calling for the umpteenth time. "It's like a leech. Let's consider our relationship over." Just as Junsu was about to answer the call to scold him, a brilliant idea suddenly popped into his head, making him turn around. A moment later, he was at the player's tomb room. "Oh my, here comes our assistant Kim. The one who overcame the heat poison without any difficulty, the one who started with 6 different properties meeting the main character. I feel truly honored." Choi Seo said while bringing a cup of fresh tea to Junsu. His demeanor trying to win favor was exaggerated tenfold compared to the last time. "Wow, I never expected it to turn out like this." Junsu took the cup of fresh tea in one gulp and casually asked, "By the way, have you found what I asked you to look for?" "Oh, don't mention it." Choi Seo sighed. "It's really difficult. Neta is an item that can only be found at the healer's place, level 5 or higher. If I can't find it, then I—" Junsu pretended to prepare to leave. No, this is a matter related to the contract with you. You must find it at all costs." "I have already found it," Choi Seo said urgently. "If it's Lieutenant Choi, the one eager for the warrior contract, I thought he would find me a mission with a reward of—" Neta thought to himself. Junsu showed a conciliatory expression and sat back down. "So what is the mission?" "Have you ever heard of Gel Security?" Choi Seo said while handing a tablet to Junsu. "It's the first time I've heard of it. Is it a security company?" "It's a private military company, one of the top 10 largest companies. The director and deputy director are a married couple, and they come from an ancient martial arts family. So the foundation is very solid." Junsu wondered why a wealthy family like this would need to rely on others. The issue lies with their son. Even though he is over 20, he still hasn't awakened his warrior abilities. Both husband and wife come from a martial arts family. Junsu asked while looking at a photo of their son rumored to have accumulated level 8 magical power, but still hasn't awakened. That's why this is a mystery. The condition they said is that a person must have awakened to at least level 1 warrior. This is a perfect mission for warrior Junsu, who felt intrigued upon hearing the conditions. He decided to give it a try, which is why we have the scene of Junsu and Choi Seo sitting in the living room of this magnificent villa. It seems the director and his wife are busy. They are not ordinary people who arrive late. Choi Seo explained while anxiously tapping his thigh. Junsu didn't mind the host's delay much. He glanced around and couldn't help but inwardly exclaim, "This house reeks of money. Sorry, have you all been waiting long?" A woman's voice startled Choi Seo and Jun-soo. The two who just entered the room were the director and deputy director of Gel Security. The woman smiled and continued to greet, "We are the ones who requested the SEO couple Jongju and Lim Ji." "Oh, you two are too polite," Choi Seo hurriedly replied while bowing. "Thank you all for taking the time to come here," Lim Ji said with a smile. Jun-soo also politely bowed while assessing the couple through the aura they were emitting. They are probably at least level 6 warriors. Both have extraordinary strength. Jongju, who had been silent, suddenly scoffed disdainfully and said, "Just a glance and you can tell this guy is useless." "What are you talking about? If this continues, then just go into the room. No way." SEO Jongju firmly replied, "Stubborn, just sit down." Lim Ji said to her husband, and then turned to talk to Choi Seo and Juju, asking if they had come here to accept their mission. "First, I want to check on your son's condition. If there is any special reason preventing him from awakening, then—" Before Jun-soo could finish, SEO Jongju became angry. He slammed his hand on the table and shouted, "You think I will obediently tell you? Calm down, dear." Lim Ji soothed her husband, then apologetically said to Jisoo, "I'm sorry about the situation with our child. He's too stressed. This isn't something to disclose to outsiders. If we accept the mission, we will call our son and explain to you. Isn't that right, warrior? They know exactly what they want." Jun-soo thought with a smile, "Then I will accept the mission. Please call your son." Moments later, a somewhat timid young man appeared. "Hello, I am Seo Ujin." "Ah, yes, nice to meet you." Jun-soo shook hands with Ujin while inwardly assessing. It's suspicious that he couldn't sense any magical power. At this moment, Jun-soo happened to notice the gloves engraved with Ujin's seal. "Your gloves are beautiful." "Yes, they are a precious item to me, and I always use them with gratitude." "A right Ujin must need a powerful magical seal." Jun-soo's words immediately stunned Ujin and his parents. Seeing their expressions, Jun-soo knew he was on the right track. "Just by looking at the gloves, I was sure this is an important issue related to an entire noble family, yet they set the condition of requiring a level 1 warrior. Looking at the gloves, I was sure this was an important issue related to an entire noble family, but it required a level 1 warrior. The simplest reason I can think of is that you want to lure me with bait. Ujin, you also underwent baptism from the congregation, right?" Jun-soo turned to look at Seo Jongju. "The reason your son cannot awaken is that he has refused the baptism ceremony. He sealed his powers to avoid divine punishment. Therefore, he has not been able to publicly announce this. Recently, there have been rumors that a level 1 warrior has passed the baptism ceremony and divine punishment. That must be why everyone has come to me." Ujin, hearing Jun-soo's words, couldn't help but admire him. "That's amazing. I don't need to explain further. It's as if you're the main character in a detective novel. It's just that I grasp the situation simply." Jun-soo smiled and replied, thinking to himself, "If I knew the future, nothing would be difficult." I had a feeling the moment I saw Seo Ujin's picture in the future. He has become the pioneer knight of the Holy Crusade. If he refuses the baptism ceremony and tries to resist the congregation's orders until his parents lose their power, a dark future awaits him, teacher. Seo Jongju immediately changed his attitude shyly, asking Jun-soo if there was a way for my Ujin to escape the baptism ceremony. "The one who was so arrogant before. Ha ha, now you are convinced right away." Jun-soo secretly rejoiced and laughed. "Of course it's possible. Jun-soo, who are you? The one who spent 10,000 hours playing Ace Soul. Do you think I wouldn't know how? I understand your pain, Ujin, because I have been through it." Jun-soo patted Ujin on the shoulder, assuring him to trust me. "I will definitely help you escape it." Ujin couldn't help but be moved and hugged Jun-soo tightly. His parents also embraced each other, crying loudly, "The saintess," or whatever. "A fake who dares to perform the baptism ceremony, give me those subordinates. There is potential in your future that now stands by my side." Jun-soo complied, giving Ujin a warm hug, then added, however, before proceeding with the treatment, "I want to add one more condition." Ujin's parents couldn't help but be surprised. An additional condition. "The difficulty of this request has increased, hasn't it?" Limiji wiped her tears and replied, "That's right. It's no longer about awakening powers, but overcoming this illness. Please go ahead." "If you can save my Ujin," before Limiji could finish speaking, Ujin stated his condition. "I want to be taught the non-mountain sword-breaking technique," which immediately vanished from Limji's face. "You completely understand what you just said, right?" Jun-soo was frightened by the murderous aura emanating from Limji and her icy gaze. It turns out the vice director is even scarier than the director. Seo Jongju saw the roof and became serious. He didn't dare to oppose and gently reminded, be gentle, okay? I understand that she is angry, but the non-mountain sword-breaking technique, some will think that deciding to learn swordsmanship in the information age of the 21st century is very odd. However, it is completely different in Ascension, where the strong take power because a super swordsman can easily destroy a tank. A high-level martial artist is likened to a squadron of fighter jets, worth trillions of won. If a level 1 superhuman learns and practices the non-mountain sword-breaking technique continuously, they can reach level 4 without any difficulty. This is basically a cheat for the early stages of the game. I remember only the elite could learn this swordsmanship. Of course, only when I complete the mission, Junsu said to calm Lim-ji's hot head. A call from Ujin immediately brought Lim-ji back to her senses. All right, Lim-ji retracted his killing intent and bowed his head, saying, if you succeed, I will give you the memory chip containing that sword technique with the real nectar, thank you, ma'am. Ujin, feeling emotional, bowed his head in response, secretly relieved, thinking he was about to die, and now he has a sword technique that's amazing. However, if I fail my husband, and I might be very disappointed. Even angry Lim-ji lightly reminded, that won't happen, I assure you, ma'am. Then it's better to start as soon as possible. A room with a magic concentration circle and 200 intermediate mana potions has been prepared as per Juju's request. This is enough. I want to be alone with the patient during the treatment so you can... Junsu was speaking when Lim-ji suddenly interjected, I'm sorry about what happened earlier. My Uji was forced to undergo a baptism ceremony before he even started school. He never had the chance to make friends, let alone go on a family outing. He had to endure being stuck in a room. It seems we have been too sensitive. From now on, I will completely leave this matter to you, Lim-ji said while bowing down, listening to Ujin's story. Junsu felt even more indignant. Everyone in the family had to endure this. It's due to that trap set by that female demon. Ujin, feeling emotional, rushed to comfort his mother. Mom, I'm fine. Ujin, you really are. In the game, he ultimately betrayed his own family. No wonder he became such a cold person. I feel a bit sorry for them thinking about it. Junsu said, don't worry, I will succeed at all costs. Hearing this, Lim-ji felt reassured and left. Now it's just the two of us here, let's begin. Junsu cheerfully stretched and said, what should I do? Looking at Ujin's pale face and trembling body, Junsu pouted and said, why are you shaking so much? Just stay calm, buddy. Ujin anxiously asked, are you not going to torture me with syringes or electric shocks to force me to awaken, like they usually do? How have you been treated all this time? Junsu sighed and asked the usual treatment for the holy power fever is to drink the nectar after awakening. However, because Ujin's cell has too much mana accumulated in his body, the fever is too intense, so the process of making him awaken has failed. You don't need to worry, but remember one thing, keep everything you see during today's treatment a secret. I promise, Ujin firmly replied. Junsu picked up 2 potion bottles and began to act. First, expand the mana barrier to its maximum limit, then the barrier will weaken, and then the holy power fever will hit, causing Junsu pain. He quickly gulped down, finishing the 2 potion bottles with a terrible taste in his hands. Soon all the prepared potions were in Junsu's stomach, harvesting the drug damage received to the limit. Mana depletion increased, but the effect of the drug had increased abnormally, acquiring the drug addiction trait. Now if I focus the mana into a shield, Junsu thought, concentrating to create a shield around the magic concentration circle, the holy power fever was completely pushed out by the barrier. Ujin saw this scene, his eyes shining, looking at Junsu amazing. Junsu smiled and replied, surprised, it's too early for that. Now you need to remove the mana sealing gloves and reach outside the barrier, then hold my hand. Now you have to take off the mana sealing gloves and reach your hand outside the barrier to hold my hand. After hearing that, Ujin's face turned pale. Wouldn't there be a resonance reaction between the 2 holy power fevers? You will be fine as long as you stay inside the barrier, Junsu said while stepping out of the barrier, and immediately the holy power fever returned once more. Don't ask why. Just do as I say. Ujin, who had never taken off his gloves since being baptized, decided to follow Junsu's instructions the moment his hand reached outside the barrier. Then the holy power fever on his hands flared up, causing Junsu to feel dizzy. How much mana does he have in his body? Although he knew the consequences, Junsu still chose to grasp that hand. It hurt even more than being baptized by the saintess. His bones felt like they were shattering into pieces. But I must stay focused and endure this pain. Damn saintess, this annoying holy power fever! Junsu gritted his teeth against the holy power fever from both Ujin and himself, then returned to the barrier. I took off my gloves, but I'm fine. Ujin looked at his still normal hand and emotionally said, that's right, that's why we had to do all this nonsense. Junsu replied, besides using the barrier, he had also used absorption. The damage was used to transfer a portion of the holy power fever to himself, meaning Ujin's holy power fever had decreased significantly. Then Junsu picked up the wooden sword and handed it to Ujin. "This is the final step. Don't stop attacking me until you awaken. It's time to use the sword techniques practiced since childhood." Ujin responded with a sound and swung the sword towards Junsu. Junsu raised his hand to block, then quickly turned to run because he realized his iron gauntlet had shattered. Just with one strike using Ujin's wooden sword at that moment, the system notified him that he had acquired a new attribute. However, even with this new attribute, if hit by Ujin's attack, he would still be knocked out, his feet cold as usual. After a while of playing tag with Ujin, Junsu was exhausted, but Ujin still hadn't awakened, making Junsu start to get annoyed. "What kind of sword technique did she teach this kid? Just dodging attacks is that hard. You have acquired the evasion status." At that moment, Junsu turned his head to look at Ujin and noticed that he was starting to emit an aura, meaning he was about to awaken. But before he could celebrate, he noticed that the sword in Ujin's hand was also starting to glow, SSR grade. Ujin was merging with the sword. Junsu read the information silently. The sword and person merging into a state where the person and sword become one is an extremely powerful state for a warrior, but that guy was completely in a trance. If hit, it would be the end for me. With an attack threatening my life, Junsu certainly wouldn't sit and wait to die. He quickly opened his attribute panel in his mind. He urgently searched for a feasible plan. First, he had to maximize all possible defensive attributes and concentrate the shields into his two hands with the help of the mana ring in this room. Just as Junsu completed the setups on the attribute panel, Ujin's attack was already upon him. Junsu gritted his teeth, crossed his two hands in front of him, betting everything. A second later, a loud explosion accompanied by blinding light filled the room. After the dust settled, Junsu appeared unharmed in front of him, shielded by a large shield. "System notification, mana shield, you have harvested an attribute." Junsu smirked and thought, "I did it. I combined the mana shield attribute and protection to create a mana shield." He exhaled tiredly, silently, lamenting, "Just a person with a wooden sword. I'm almost turned to gold." He was about to sit down to rest a bit when he suddenly heard a faint cry from Ujin. Junsu looked up and saw him staggering and then falling to the ground. "How dare he lose consciousness in peace after almost turning me to gold?" Complaining softly, Junsu slowly walked over to Ujin and found that he had fallen asleep. I guess he went a little crazy after awakening. In the game SEO, Gujin is a strong character with SSL level. But because he awakened a warrior, not a knight, he obtained the unified swordsmanship as a trait, which started to seem like he had created a monster warrior. By awakening Seo Gujin into a warrior instead of a knight, I don't know how this change will affect the future story. Well, he is a silver spoon kid with unmatched power, and now he owes me a favor, which isn't too bad to think about. Junsu grinned and used his strength to carry Gujin outside. A moment later in Gujin's bedroom, Gujin's parents looked at their son sleeping soundly on the bed with love. They gently said, "Our Gujin has really overcome that fever." The two of them turned to Junsu and bowed, saying, "Thank you very much." Junsu smiled and said, "It's nothing. I told you I could do it." Gel brought a glass of water to Junsu, his face flattering as he said, "I knew you could do it." Limji reached out to pat Gujin's head and said, "It's been a while since we've seen the boy sleep. I don't know how to repay this debt." Then she smiled at her husband, nodding. Jongju understood and smiled back, then took out an envelope and walked towards Junsu, saying, "So along with the water as promised, the memory chip about swordsmanship, the non-mountain sword break. I will give you an additional fee for the success." Junsu smiled happily but pretended to refuse. "Oh, you don't need to do that." Jongju sincerely said, "Please, I hope you accept 1,000,000,000 won from us." Although the amount might still be less than what you did for us, hearing the figure of 1,000,000,000 won made Junsu ecstatic, but on the outside he still maintained his decorum and said, "Oh my heart would hurt a lot if I refused it twice, so I guess there's no other way." After that, Junsu and Jongju genuinely joyfully shook hands. Not long after, Junsu and Choi Seo left Gujin's house. Sitting in the car, Choi Seo spoke up, "Today we check." Post then, the warrior Junsu observed the nectar bottle and the memory chip about the non-mountain sword break in his hands and said, "I know they look amazing." Choi Seo asked, "Are you planning to drink the nectar right now?" Junsu replied, "I am, and I plan to take a break for a while." Sel spoke up, "It's understandable. You surely don't want to attract the attention of the former father, or those who hear about your reward. But it's a pity if you refine the nectar and absorb it. It will significantly enhance your mana." Junsu replied, "That's right. He looked at the nectar bottle in his hand, thinking, if I could refine the nectar and drink it, I could upgrade my superhuman level a lot. Instead of spending money to cure the fever quickly, the car arrived at the hotel where Junsu was staying. The car pulled over to the side of the road and he smiled, saying, "Warrior, I will check to see if there are any necessary devices to refine the nectar." Nectar shouldn't be used if possible. Think about it a bit and then use it. Junsu got out of the car and replied, "Thank you very much, I will think about it." Back in his room, Junsu immediately opened the nectar bottle, laughing and saying to himself, "I will drink it now. I have learned. Ascension can be brutal like in the case of the deer. I can't guarantee that Director Choi won't betray me addicted to drugs absorbing mana dependent on medicine. Anyway, I also have traits that can maximize the effectiveness of the nectar." Thinking about this, Junsu didn't hesitate and drank the entire nectar bottle. Immediately, a wave of pain hit him. Junsu felt like every muscle in his body was being disassembled and reassembled as a tremendous amount of mana flowed through him. After a while, the pain subsided, and in Junsu's room, a golden light burst forth. The notification system announced, "Superhuman Level 2, Kim Warrior, I leveled up." Joyfully, Junsu looked at another notification from the system, "You have harvested a trait, the harvesting of black fire, and by curing the fever with nectar. I have obtained one of the best level 1 traits in the entire game. Black fire has been added to my list of traits along with the non-mountain sword break. I had obtained one of the best level 1 traits in the entire game. The black fire trait had been added to my list of traits along with the swordsmanship of the non-mountain sword break. I feel really relieved that I can focus on training these 2 traits and there won't be any issues." While Junsu was deep in thought, the phone on the table vibrated. It was a message from Cho Sel saying, "Hey, I have a few things to discuss." Junsu glanced at the phone screen on the table. It was Director Choi. Why was he suddenly messaging me? Just a fleeting doubt crossed Junsu's mind, but he shrugged it off and laughed, saying, "Whatever. I'm going to train now." Just a few seconds later, a series of notification sounds from the phone reached his ears. It was so noisy. What could be so urgent? Angrily, Junsu ran over to grab the phone and check the messages. "And Mr. Superhuman, I have many things to discuss, but I think it would be more respectful to contact you via text first. I'm sure you will need help. I understand why you hesitate. It could be because of those opposing factions. Just ignore everything and be determined. It's time to reflect on yourself. When you learn the swordsmanship, your path will reveal itself. Of course there will be some who will complain about it. Please reply to this message as soon as you read it." After reading the entire message, a huge question mark appeared in Junsu's mind as he thought, "What the hell is this? What is he messaging about?" But just a few seconds later, Junsu realized the oddity in these messages. He focused and read through them again, quickly finding the answer. "Run away from Gang G" when pieced together into a sentence made him think quickly. He hid this information in the message. Gang G is one of the rival gangs against the Power Gang. If Director Choi wanted to betray me, he would call me as usual to buy time. Looking through the messages he sent, he must have been imitated. It seems the information has been leaked while he was preparing the equipment. Clearly everything is unfolding. A cold expression unexpectedly appeared on Junsu's face as he softly said, "Well, I will ignore it because I have Nita. Everyone must take responsibility for their lives." The next day in a deserted alley, the painful cries of a man echoed continuously. There was a small warehouse here, and Choi SEO was now tightly bound to a chair surrounded by several men standing around. At this moment, one man grabbed Choi SEO's head and spoke, "You have some endurance. All night long, and you still won't tell us where that bastard superhuman is." Cho Sel insisted, "He signed a contract because he trusts me. I won't say anything no matter what you do." Hearing this, the man grinned like a devil. "I don't want to do this, but you haven't given me any other choice." After saying that, he waved his hand to signal his accomplices. One of them understood and brought an axe in front of Choi SEO, asking, "Left or right, which hand do you use to eat?" Choi SEO just silently stared at him. Seeing this, the man laughed loudly. "Not answering, huh? Usually it would be the right hand, right?" As he spoke, he raised the axe high, aiming for Choi SEO's right hand to chop down. Just as the axe was about to strike, a loud explosion suddenly rang out, causing the man to stop his action and angrily look towards the source of the noise, shouting, "What the hell is that?" At that moment, a henchman crawled in and spoke, "Boss, what's going on over there?" The frightened henchman replied, "Some crazy bastard threw grenades into our building." Meanwhile, on the roof of a nearby building, Junsu grinned, carrying a grenade launcher on his shoulder, aiming at the building. "You guys picked the wrong person to mess with. I can't abandon someone who has kept their promise in this cruel world of Espa. All right, now the battle begins." With that, Junsu once again pulled the trigger, firing a shell straight towards the gang's building. It caused a huge explosion. A few seconds later, from the large hole created by the explosion, a large number of armed people rushed out, shouting, "Where is he shooting from?" Causing a loud explosion a few seconds later from the large hole created by the blast, a large number of armed people rushed out. Where did he shoot from? Find him right away. Looking at the crowd shouting below, Junsu smirked disdainfully as they rushed out of the building like a swarm of ants. Although the building appeared to be a normal apartment from the outside, I knew all the people inside. Because this place is the Dagger Gang's dungeon that I had defeated until I was sick of it. It is a complex dungeon consisting of 6 different buildings, as the Dagger Gang mission is one of the trials. So now I could defeat it with my eyes closed. The effort I put in back then has now turned into skill. And now the veteran has come to complete the mission. After saying that, Junsu, with a backpack full of weapons, jumped onto the rooftop of the adjacent building to avoid staying in one place too long and getting discovered below. The Dagger Gang members had also split up and were searching around. After a few minutes of searching in some alley, 3 members of the Dagger Gang were slowly looking for those who attacked us earlier. It must be the Iron Fist, right? Only they could create such crazy achievements. We've caught them now. Let's give them a beating until they can't get up. While talking, one of them suddenly heard a strange sound coming from the trash can. The person behind him cautiously turned around and asked what the sound was. "Let me go check." The bald guy reminded him, "Okay, make sure to search thoroughly." So the one who heard the strange sound went to the back of the trash can, peeked in, but saw no one. "There's nothing here," he muttered just as he was about to turn back to his companions. Suddenly, a hand grabbed his head and pushed it down onto the ground. Junsu, who had been invisible, appeared, placing the guy he knocked out against the wall, and smiled happily. Even though I was standing right in front of him, he couldn't even recognize me. When it comes to infiltration, there's no better tactic than playing dead with stealth. So while those thugs were wandering outside, I would enter their main building. This is too easy. I'll go in through a secret passage. Saying that, Junsu walked up to the trash can, gently opened the lid, and went down below using the ladder. Once he reached the bottom, Junsu immediately scanned the surroundings. Until now, I had tried to avoid combat as much as possible to infiltrate the Dagger Gang, who like to keep hostages next to their boss's room on the 5th floor, so there must still be a way. I would move as stealthily as possible so they wouldn't catch me. The plan sounded great, but life isn't a dream. Junsu had just tiptoed his first few steps when the alarm rang out loudly. "Emergency, emergency, enemies are attacking. The enemy has infiltrated the building. Everyone gear up and gather at the designated assembly point." Hearing that, Junsu's expression turned grim. He thought to himself, "They've discovered me." Then his gaze shifted to the closed door right in front of him, caught in a dilemma. If I go out, I will encounter a hallway, and that is the optimal route because there is a main staircase leading to the upper floors. But the problem is, when they discover that someone has infiltrated the building, they will set up barricades in the hallway as a defense line. If I open this door now, they will shoot at me like crazy. Just for a moment, Junsu decided to open this door. Inside the fruit, as you guessed, many members of the Dagger Gang had set up a barricade, guns at the ready. "Hello, everyone. Enjoy the bullets. It's my gift for you." While laughing and talking, Junsu pulled out a gun and wildly fired at the Dagger Gang members. In an instant, cries of agony rang out as they were hit by bullets. The ones who hadn't been shot quickly reacted. "What a Gatling gun! Damn it, shoot back!" they cursed, raising their weapons to retaliate. Suddenly, a grenade flew in, followed by a loud explosion in the room. Junsu, hiding outside the door, laughed and said, "If you're scared, just go home." He took a few more grenades from his backpack, holding one in his hand. "One isn't enough, so let's add more." With that, Junsu tossed several grenades into the room and quickly backed out, closing the door. He then heard several loud explosions accompanied by screams of despair. This made him smile wickedly, saying, "I see you all enjoying this. We're having a great time." After a few minutes, Junsu entered the room, his eyes alert as he looked around, thinking to himself, "There are only this many of them. A few must still be alive. I can't let my guard down." Suddenly, one of the guys lying on the ground sprang up. He aimed at Junsu and fired. Being alert, Junsu sensed the bullet flying towards his head and simply tilted his head to the side. He had successfully dodged it. The system announced that he had achieved the sensitivity trait. "Great, I've acquired the sensitivity trait I needed from this dungeon." Thinking to himself, Junsu looked at the guy who had ambushed him. After a few seconds, he dealt with the ambusher, wiped the sweat from his forehead, and thought, "Now that I've dealt with the henchman, I'll head upstairs." A moment later, Junsu reached the 4th floor. "Perhaps I've made it to the 4th floor safely, but the real danger is just beginning. The gang members will appear on the 4th floor soon. right before I reached the 5th floor and the room of the gang leader. Junsu quietly approached a corner, peeking out, and was surprised to see no one around, feeling suspicious. Junsu walked towards the casino, opened the door, but still saw no one. He realized something was off, his expression serious as he told himself to focus. The system announced that he had achieved the focus trait. He had just obtained this trait. Junsu quickly heard a strange noise from above. He looked up and saw a drone flying out of the ventilation shaft. Then he saw the drone drop a grenade to the ground, exploding in a blinding flash of light that forced him to shut his eyes tight. In his heart, he cursed, "Damn it, a flash grenade right now!" Behind Junsu, a shadow appeared, wielding a dagger, lunging at him to stab his neck while laughing maniacally. "Got you!" The person approaching was the gang leader of the Dagger Gang, a level 2 super assassin. However, the stab from the gang leader was suddenly blocked by a shield that appeared out of nowhere. Junsu regained his vision, turned to look at him, and asked, "Who did you say you caught?" The gang leader incredulously shouted, "The knife can't pierce through." He quickly jumped back to create distance from Junsu, who did not make any move. He simply asked, "Who do you call a rat?" "You're the one dressed like a rat, aren't you?" In his heart, he thought, I didn't expect the gang leader to appear on the 4th floor. That was really dangerous. The events that just happened didn't occur in the game, but I still figured it out. The game pattern for the flash grenade is an attack pattern that activates when the player enters the gang leader's room beforehand. I had to equip the sensitivity and focus traits before the gang leader ambushed me. The gang leader of the Dagger Gang is an assassin. I must sense where his attack is coming from. With my 5 senses at this moment, the Dagger Gang leader angrily shouted, "You couldn't withstand my ambush." Junsu laughed and replied, "Don't be surprised so soon." Then he took a weapon out of his backpack and seriously said, "I will make you regret targeting me." Junsu charged towards the Dagger Gang leader. He swung his sword but failed. Because he had disappeared before Junsu's attack could hit him, the Dagger Gang leader reappeared behind him and said, "Jujutsu, you're so slow, yet you still try to act tough." With disdain, the Dagger Gang leader threw a dagger glowing with light towards Junsu's back. Seeing this, Junsu quickly turned around and slashed the dagger away with his sword. He thought to himself, he's too fast, truly a killer. If I hadn't had my sensitivity and focus, I would have been done for. That guy dipped his dagger in poison, so just letting it touch me would be enough to send me to the other side. This match is dragging on. The longer it lasts, the more disadvantages I will face. The Dagger Gang leader exclaimed, "Oh, you're quite lucky if you surrender now. I will be merciful and only chop off one of your hands." Junsu laughed and said, "Stop talking nonsense and come at me." The Dagger Gang leader laughed loudly and said, "Look at that horrible sword stance of yours. I know you're a marksman. Compared to someone who can't even assess the situation, your mouth is quite loud." Hearing this, Junsu was startled and thought, he called me a marksman right because I've been using a gun all this time. He must have misjudged me as an armed soldier. Enhanced. Seeing Junsu silent, the Dagger Gang leader thought he was right and grinned ferociously. "I will tear you apart and deal with you in the most painful way possible." He shouted loudly and charged at Junsu, launching an attack simultaneously. Junsu also gripped the sword's hilt tightly and raised it high above his head. He only had one chance, and that was right now when he let his guard down. Junsu silently urged himself. Without hesitation, he struck down at the Dagger Gang leader. Seeing this, the gang leader retracted his attack and moved. He dodged to the side, a smirk on his face as he taunted, "Too slow." He didn't know that Junsu was waiting for this moment. Junsu's eyes flashed. He subtly turned the sword's hilt, directing the blade from a downward strike to a horizontal slash. The Dagger Gang leader, witnessing this, panicked and thought, "What a marksman using a combination attack." He hurriedly used his dagger to parry, but was still knocked back, falling to the ground. At this moment, the Dagger Gang leader no longer dared to underestimate Junsu. In his eyes, there was now a sense of caution. Junsu raised his sword once more. "Sorry, but I've changed my attributes. I'm no longer a marksman, but a top-tier warrior equipped with swordsmanship." With that, Junsu unleashed the first form of the No Mountain Sword, Mountain Crusher, striking towards the Dagger Gang leader, severely injuring him. The dagger fell to the side as he bowed his head and coughed up a large mouthful of blood. Junsu smugly said, "Let your guard down and you lose." The Dagger Gang leader, furious, cursed, "You bastard!" He also learned from Junsu, taking advantage of the moment when Junsu was smug and careless to reach for the dagger. Then he threw it straight at Junsu with all his might and shouted, "This isn't over!" Junsu was startled and exclaimed, "Is he making a final move?" In the blink of an eye, blood splattered. The Dagger Gang leader was dealt with by Junsu's sword, while Junsu was struck by the thrown dagger in his side. A few seconds later, Junsu suddenly fell to his knees. He frowned as he pulled the dagger out softly, cursing himself for letting his guard down at the last moment. The poison had already spread through his body with the blood. You frowned, pulled out a dagger, and softly scolded yourself for being caught off guard at the last moment. The poison had already spread through your blood all over your body. I need to change my attributes. First, the attribute you equipped for healing injuries regenerates mana by deep breathing. After changing these attributes, Junsu was able to stand up by himself. I can endure it, but it hurts too much, Junsu said while putting his weapon into his backpack. He was about to leave this place when he heard. The noise from outside the window came in quickly. Hurry up there! An intruder just appeared around here. Junsu looked out the window and quietly said, I can't let time pass uselessly. I need to get out of this building as soon as possible. Meanwhile, in the torture room on the 5th floor, Choi SEO was also trying to save himself, shaking his body with all his strength, causing the chair to lose balance and tip over backward. I need to get out of here quickly. Thinking to himself, Choi SEO used his finger to poke at a piece of glass nearby. He intended to use it to cut the ropes binding him. Just as he was about to grab the piece of glass, Choi SEO noticed a shadow covering his head. He looked up in surprise and saw that the person was Junsu. Exactly how did you fall into their hands? While asking, Junsu helped Choi SEO remove the gag from his mouth. Choi SEO joyfully exclaimed, You superhero Junsu, untie me. Choi SEO sighed slightly. You made me a bit tired. Choi SEO was moved, tears welling up in his eyes, asking, You came all the way here to save me. Junsu's serious face placed a hand on Choi SEO's shoulder, saying, Let's get out of here first. They are coming up there. Choi SEO smiled and said, Yes, of course. But just as he was about to step away, he felt a painful sensation in his legs, causing him to cry out involuntarily. Junsu looked back suspiciously when he saw Choi SEO's legs trembling. He frowned and silently cursed those bastards, seeing what they had done to him. Then he actively sat down and said, Jump on my back. Choi SEO hurriedly waved his hand, saying, What are you talking about? I don't need it. I probably don't have the right to ask for anything more from you. Junsu urged, It's okay. We are in a hurry. So let's get to a safe point first. Thinking about it, Choi SEO reluctantly agreed, then just this once, okay? Thank you for carrying me, Choi SEO. Junsu smiled slightly, thinking even after enduring such brutal torture, he still maintained his loyalty, I thought. This world, Axon's soul, is a hell on earth, but it also gives people a surprisingly moving feeling. About a few hours later, Junsu and Choi SEO safely returned to Choi SEO's office. Junsu was now sitting on a chair, continuously using cans of recovery medicine. The system announced the attribute of poison resistance you received. See this notification board. Junsu stopped drinking comfortably, leaning back in the chair, speaking, Drinking the recovery medicine will expel all the toxins out. Choi SEO enthusiastically took out a bunch of recovery medicine cans, saying, If you need more, feel free to take more. Junsu smiled and said, Okay, this is enough. In his heart, he happily added a sentence, because I have gained that attribute now. At this moment, Choi SEO with a guilty expression spoke up, By the way, I really didn't know, I'm sorry. It seems that when I was preparing to predict for us, the information leaked out. I shouldn't have trusted my staff like that. Junsu advised it's okay, after all, I've already drunk the divine wine. Choi SEO was astonished and asked, What, you've already drunk the divine wine? Junsu smiled and said, If I hadn't drunk it, then I wouldn't have been able to save you, Director. Hearing this, Choi SEO looked as if he had just attended a funeral. He held his head and groaned, No way. You had to drink the divine wine to save me. Junsu turned his head and muttered, It's not his fault, but I'll let him think whatever he wants. Suddenly, there was a loud knocking at the door. Cho Gel panicked and shouted, What is it? Could it be the Dagger Gang has come here? What should we do? Junsu crossed his arms, looked at the door, and smiled. It seems we have some guests, so let's welcome them. He then stood up and went to open the door. Choi SEO anxiously followed behind. When Junsu opened the door, Choi SEO immediately exclaimed, The Iron Gang, it's Kim the Iron Gang and a group of his underlings. Junsu smiled and said, Here he is. Kim the Iron Gang spoke up. I didn't expect you to have wiped out the Dagger Gang beforehand. I knew you weren't an ordinary guy. So why did you call me here? Junsu thought to himself, because it was time for me to claim my reward for completing the difficult mission. The Iron Gang and the Dagger Gang are rival gangs fighting for control of the slim territory in the game. The tutorial requires players to help the Iron Gang eliminate the Dagger Gang. The Dagger Gang will offer many rewards for taking out the Dagger Gang, but Junsu remained silent. Kim, the Iron Gang, inquired, "Do you have plans to establish a new organization or something?" Junsu shook his head and replied, "No. Running an organization is not my style. The reason I called you here today is to tell you that you can have the territory the Dagger Gang has held all this time." Kim, the Iron Gang, exclaimed in surprise. "What?" Junsu explained. "I prefer to go solo and I have no intention of stepping into the underworld, so this is to repay the debt from before." Kim, the Iron Gang, pondered for a moment and then asked, "Accepting your offer means I lose nothing, but it seems a bit much compared to the debt you owe me from before, right?" Junsu smiled and said, "It seems we understand each other now. Thanks to me, you now own the Super Slim territory. Grant me one wish." Kim, the Iron Gang, asked one wish. "And if I grant you one wish, what will you wish for? Tell me in advance." Junsu thought to himself, of course it would be something everyone in Seoul wants. Outwardly, he smiled and said, "Just give me a house that would be enough." Internally, he added, "When I go home." Kim, the Iron Gang, asked, "You mean a house?" Junsu replied, "Since I started acting independently in this unpredictable world, I've realized that I should have a place to call home." After a moment of contemplation, Kim, the Iron Gang, said, "Well, that's fine. After all, you've escaped from those Dagger Gang members, so let's make that deal." Hearing that, Junsu immediately laughed and said, "You're so straightforward, I like that." Kim Tae-kyun asked, "So what kind of house do you want? A luxurious villa or just a simple apartment?" Junsu stated his request. "Neither of those. I need a house in a sparsely populated area. It should have good security and soundproofing and also include a training area in the basement." Hearing this, Kim Tae-kyun began to ponder and softly said, "A house in a sparsely populated area with a training area in the basement." Junsu tried to appear calm, patiently waiting, but inside he was fervently praying, "Come on, just say it." "Talk about the house that I'm thinking of." Very quickly, Kim Tae-kyun spoke up. "I know of a house that fits that description. It's a house in the suburbs of Seoul along the Jeonwoo-bong range." Hearing this, Junsu joyfully shouted, "Bingo, a house located at the foothills of the Jeonwoo-bong range. That's a house? It couldn't be more suitable to be the first base for a player in Seoul." On the surface, Junsu tried not to show any strange expressions to avoid arousing suspicion. The next morning, Junsu was at his new house, currently lounging in the sun on the second-floor terrace. Next to him were food and drinks. So this is the feeling of bliss when you just acquired a place to settle down. While speaking, Junsu walked to the railing, stretched out his arms in joy, and exclaimed, "I love this relaxing atmosphere. The view from here is beautiful, too. Indeed, it's an amazing house. Initially, when I just fell into Ascension, I didn't even know what was happening, and the medical expenses cost around 20 million won. But now I have a magnificent house like a mansion. And not only that, I also have financial backing from the top security organization and Director Choi. With this, even if I had to stay in the hospital for a year, I wouldn't have to worry." Joy passed. Junsu regained his composure, looking into the distance thoughtfully. "But this is Ascension. I can't rest on my laurels. Once the game's storyline progresses further, evil scum like the Holy Maiden and the Father will appear and wreak havoc on the city." Then Junsu casually picked up the sword beside him and said with a smile, "So now it's time to find out the real reason for choosing this house." A little later, Junsu slung the sword over his shoulder and went down to the training room on the ground floor, using his fingers to tap around the walls as if searching for something. "It must be somewhere around here." Junsu mumbled and continued tapping until he found a spot where the sound was different from the others. "Let's get to work." Shouting loudly, Junsu swung the sword down directly at this wall, causing the entire section of the wall to crumble, revealing an empty space inside. Looking at the result after just one swing of his sword, Junsu cheerfully exclaimed, "It seems like my special ability is kicking in. At this rate, I might finish earlier than expected." After some time, Junsu was still diligently digging but had yet to find what he wanted. His expression now looked gaunt as he shouted, "Faster than I expected! I didn't know it was this deep!" Even so, Junsu did not give up. "Come on, don't back down now." While shouting, Junsu raised the sword and struck hard against the ground. After this strike, water suddenly erupted from the spot where he hit. "Here it is!" Junsu exclaimed joyfully, taking the opportunity to open his mouth to catch a few droplets that splashed nearby. Just a few seconds later, his gaunt face had completely disappeared. You look at your hands and softly say you can feel your body gradually recovering. Is this the effect of the mana spring? A spring filled with mana, a true mana spring, even characters with 0 vitality can recover. They can also recover quickly when immersed in the mana spring, and even most negative effects disappear. It really is a wonderful skill. A place where you can access the mana spring for free like this. Indeed, there's no place better than the house near the John Ubong Range, the first base of the Steel Authority, where Junsu personally installed a water supply system and brought in a large bathtub. You turn on the faucet, filling the bathtub with mana spring water, and sit inside relaxing, saying that to get this house you went through quite a few hardships, not like in a game. Here, with just a click of the mouse, you can easily notice the effects of the mana spring. It truly is a fantastic recovery therapy. To be able to practice with it means you can train to your heart's content, soak a bit, then go back to training. It's still fantastic. Now it's time for the only thing left. Grind hard to level up like a super VIP pro and train. Speaking of which, Junsu quickly takes out a sword. Excited, he begins to practice, and time passes into an evening 2 weeks later. Junsu holds the sword standing in the underground training room, silently thinking he has locked himself in. It's been 2 weeks since he confined himself in this training room. I can activate the black fire quite steadily now. Then, with a focused expression, he continuously executes the skills: the first form of the No Mountain Sword Break, the second form Mountain Division, and the third form Mind Mountain Penetration. Sheathing the sword, a smile appears on Junsu's face as he speaks. Great, now I can use the No Mountain Sword Break alongside the black fire. Moreover, there are incredibly useful traits I received during training: the trait of explosive fire resistance, fire meditation, and stable mana. Looking at these traits, Junsu falls into deep thought. Now that training is done, there's just one important thing left to do: the ability to refine mana that I cannot possess through training. If I could refine the mana potion before drinking it, I might have reached level 3 already. But now I'm only at level 2. So I don't have too much mana in me right now to fully absorb the mana from the potion and reach level 3. I need the ability to refine mana. Of course, it's not easy to obtain. But if I get it, it would be worth it many times over. Thinking of this, Junsu suddenly remembers something from when he was still playing Ascension. That day, he controlled the character. The Kim warrior went to Kim Chun's weapon shop. Upon hearing his request, the shopkeeper was astonished and asked if he really wanted to buy it. That item has been in stock for nearly 15 years. Junsu affirmed, replying, "I want to buy it." The seller said nothing more and went to get it for Junsu. The notification system announced, "You have purchased the mana refining skill." Seeing this notification on his phone, Junsu, lying in bed playing games, smugly laughed and said, "I must be the only one who knows the mana refining skill can be bought at that old shop." Bringing his awareness back to the present, Junsu happily said, "Now I'll swing by the Singwon commercial area to go to that antique shop. It's time to level up." So Junsu immediately set off running to that shop. But when you arrived, you must have been disappointed because the store was closed. Moreover, the door was locked so that no one could get in. As Junsu approached, he noticed a small notice board hanging in front of the locked door stating that until the situation in the Singwon market stabilized, Junsu tried to look around and was surprised. More than other stores that were also closed, this place was eerily quiet, completely different from the bustling Seoul in his memory. The Singwon commercial area was supposed to have the most shops in the region. There's no way this place could be closed. In the game, it was open 24/7, so why is it closed now? Most of the other shops were also closed like this one. The world of Ascension is different from what I know. Wanting to gather some information, Junsu walked down the street and saw a man sitting in front of the only shop still lit smoking. Junsu slowly approached to strike up a conversation, asking if the situation in the market was not good lately. This man was the shop owner. He turned to glance at Junsu and irritably said, "Can't you see I'm exhausted here? Oh, with those thugs coming here to fight all the time, how could there be any customers?" Junsu was surprised and asked, "Thugs? I thought this place was under the control of the Ice Blade Gang." The shop owner waved his hand dismissively, cursing the Ice Blade Gang. What a joke. Ever since the Dagger Gang was purged, all sorts of gangs have been causing trouble every day: the Ice Blade Gang, the Poison Gang, and even the Naked Gang. Hearing this, Junsu immediately understood the problem. So the gangs are fighting with each other, huh? In the storyline of the original game, the Ice Blade Gang defeated the Dagger Gang and claimed sovereignty over their territory, so the Singwon market naturally fell under Kim's control. But this time, I am the one dealing with the Dagger Gang, so this market has become a battlefield for the remaining gangs. What should I do? While Junsu was deep in thought looking for a solution, he suddenly heard a shout from a distance. "Look at those idiots! Hurry up and chase them out!" The shop owner clicked his tongue and said, "It's them again." Junsu decided to head towards the sound of the shout. He needed to check the situation himself before taking action. Not far away, a member of the Ice Blade Gang was knocked away. He crashed hard into a pile of goods covered with tarpaulin, while 3 other members of the Ice Blade Gang, though angry, dared not act. They could only stand there, faces full of vigilance, looking towards the opposite side. Opposite them was a group of 4 from the Poison Gang, led by the boss Kwang Hit-2, a level 2 superhuman character. After knocking away the member of the Ice Blade Gang, Kwang Hit-2 arrogantly laughed and said, "Don't you idiots get it? I told you this intersection is the territory of the Poison Gang, understand? Get lost, Ice Blade Gang, go back to your rat hole." The member of the Ice Blade Gang who was knocked away covered his injured spot with his hand, gritting his teeth and cursing the bastards. At that moment, a voice questioned, "What are you guys doing causing trouble in our area?" Members of both the Ice Blade Gang and the Poison Gang turned to see a group from the Naked Gang approaching, with the leader being Kefo Dam. The boss of the Naked Gang, also a level 2 superhuman character, Kwang Hit-2, saw this group coming and cursed, "Damn it, those sickos are here." Kefo Dam laughed and said, "This intersection is under the management of the Naked Gang." Kwang Hit-2 led his subordinates towards the Naked Gang, saying, "Stop talking nonsense, just get lost." Kefo Dam asked, "Do you still want to continue this invasion?" The recently knocked member of the Ice Blade Gang, seeing the situation, muttered curses under his breath. "I need to get out of here quickly." He was about to stand up when he suddenly noticed someone next to him. Junsu was standing beside him, looking at the 2 groups that were clashing, and quietly said, "What a mess." The recently knocked member asked in astonishment, "Aren't you the superhero who wiped out the Dagger Gang?" Junsu now looked at him, supporting him with one hand and asking, "What are you doing? Get up and get to work." The newcomer who just got beaten asked what you meant. Junsu directly faced the 2 groups of people nearby and shouted, "You thugs, stop fighting and gather here." The newcomer who was beaten, frightened, quickly said, "Wait a minute. What are you doing?" Junsu glanced at him and said, "Calm down, I'm helping you." In his heart, he thought to restore the market to normal, he needed to establish a clear hierarchy. It would be best to help the power-hungry gang. Kwang Hit-2 looked at Junsu and smiled. "Oh, let's see what we have here. Who the hell are you to command me?" The thug, with his hands clasped in front of him, stared angrily at Junsu and asked if his friend wanted to offer a gift. Junsu looked at the 2 of them, then at the townspeople attracted by the noise, pondering that both of them were level 2 superhumans. "If I use all my strength, I could still win, but there's no need to involve the merchants. I have to show them my strength first." Thinking this, Junsu bared his teeth and smiled, took out a sword from his backpack, and quickly organized his attributes. A second later, a black flame erupted from his body while the sword was enveloped in a blue energy characteristic of the non-sun sword break. Seeing this scene, Kwang Hit-2 exclaimed in shock, "Huh? What, the non-sun sword break and this divine feeling? Could it be that the thug suddenly gaped and asked if you were the superhuman who single-handedly wiped out the entire Dagger Gang?" Junsu smiled and said, "That's right, this time I'll be generous. I want to make a request that you cannot refuse. Instead of complicating things, let's resolve it with a duel. The winner will have the right to control the market." "What do you think? Fair conditions, right?" Kwang Hit-2 angrily spoke up. "Do you think I'm stupid enough to agree to a duel with a warrior like you?" Not to mention he shared the same opinion as Kwang Hit-2. Junsu spoke up. "Don't worry, we will fight according to your strengths, the ones you are most confident in." A moment later, the 3 groups of 3 gangs had retreated a distance. In the center stood 3 people, Junsu, Kwang Hit-2, and the thug. Junsu looked at the thug and said, "So your special ability is mind control. If I resist, I win." The thug had a lewd look on his face as he smiled at Junsu and said, "It's truly an honor to have such a handsome guy like you. Knowing about yourself, or should we skip this meaningless fight, you can join our worship of the primordial goddess." Junsu, with a disgusted expression, spoke up. "Why should I join your gang? Think harder. Your belief isn't even among the 7 second-tier beliefs. It's clearly an unnamed cult. Why should I join a fake cult that's not even on the Westphalia list?" Hearing Junsu's words, the thug's smile faded. He angrily shouted, "You're truly a heretic. I will make you change that thought. By the love and mercy of the goddess, kneel before me, and I will grant you the opportunity to meet the goddess." At the same time, he raised his hand towards Junsu. Activating the mind control ability, Junsu stood still, not making any evasive actions. In an instant, his mind became heavy. His knees slightly buckled as if he wanted to kneel down. Indeed, the mind control ability of the priest level was strong, but, "Sorry, buddy. Even the goddess shouldn't mess with me." Junsu thought silently as he opened his attribute panel and replaced the divine resistance attribute. Junsu immediately felt his body lighten. His mind became agile again, and then he didn't hesitate to throw a knockout punch at the unnamed thug. The others in the gang saw this and quickly ran to help the thug up. "My lord thug, are you okay?" For now, let's retreat while the group of naked ice people leaves. Junsu just looked at the blood hitter and said it was her turn now. Blood hitter spoke up, "Oh, you're not just anyone, but let me say first that the poison is on a different level than those guys earlier." Junsu replied, "Not necessarily you have to test it to know her special ability is brewing poison, right? Give me the most terrifying thing you have and I will drink it," Blood hitter said with a smile. "If you want to die like that, then I will help you right now." The person who was just beaten ran to Junsu's side and advised, "Hey, I know you're very strong, but drinking their poison is self-destruction." Junsu smiled and replied, "Don't worry, I have enough confidence." At the same time, Blood hitter took out a cup of poison and handed it to Junsu, saying, "If you can handle it, you win. If not, I win." Junsu reached out to take the cup of poison and stared intently, thinking, "Just as I expected, she gave me Big Nicole. This is the most painful poison among what they have." Then a look of disgust appeared on his face as he exclaimed, "Oh my God, it smells terrible. If I don't die, be prepared to get punched." Blood hitter angrily said, "Don't even think about an antidote after drinking it. Sorry, but that's not happening." With that, Junsu decisively drank the entire cup of poison. A second later, Junsu collapsed to the ground, silently cursing, feeling as if his flesh and blood were boiling. Blood hitter, seeing this, smugly walked over and kicked Junsu a few times, laughing. "You felt it right away, huh? If you beg for mercy like a dog, maybe I'll consider helping you." Junsu didn't have time to argue with her. He was currently gritting his teeth. He persevered and looked for a way to deal with the danger. He needed to focus. This poison was created by mixing many special drugs, so it couldn't be neutralized. "I have to endure as much damage as possible with healing properties and find a way to control the poison." Thinking of this, Junsu immediately took action, first changing the property board. Next, he concentrated the poison into his left hand. The system announced, "You have received a drug resistance property." Thanks to having drug resistance, he could now control the toxin with mana. The last thing to do, Junsu said while using a sword to cut a wound in the palm of his left hand. Immediately, a large amount of toxin escaped outside. The person who was just beaten cried out, "He's concentrating the toxin into his arm to eliminate it." Blood hitter in disbelief shouted, "No way!" Then she was startled as Junsu appeared in front of her, smiling. "That poison bottle is really terrible. And now it's my turn." Without giving Blood hitter a chance to react, Junsu grabbed one of her arms, forced it up, and sliced off a finger, causing her to scream in pain. The lackeys behind her were worried and shouted, "Sister Blood hitter!" She knelt on the ground, glaring at Junsu, and said, "You think you can escape after doing that to me?" Junsu scratched his ear and said, "Don't talk like a typical loser anymore, just disappear." Blood hitter angrily cursed, "You bastard!" The lackeys rushed over to put a hand on her shoulder, advising her to leave first, sister, so Blood hitter had no choice but to endure. Grumbling as she left, she said, "I'll remember your face." The members of the Steel Blade gang cheered joyfully. "I won! Ha ha, serves you right, you bastards!" Cheering for warrior Kim Junsu, he smirked and looked at the merchants, silently thinking, winning is obvious. Now the real issue begins. Not far away, the merchants whispered to each other, "Did the Steel Blade gang win? I wonder how they will hack us." Leaving looking at the merchants, Junsu turned to the person who was beaten earlier and said, "Hey, you have to report that I did everything." This person smiled and said, "Of course, sir, thank you very much." Junsu raised a finger and said, "There's one thing the Steel Blade gang must remember about this market." This person nodded continuously. "Yes, what is it, sir? Please tell me." Junsu said, "The protection fee for this market is only half the price of the Dagger gang." Hearing this, the person who was beaten earlier exclaimed, "What?" This person smiled and said, "Of course, sir, thank you very much." Junsu raised a finger, indicating that there was one thing that the Steel Group must remember in this market. This person continuously nodded and asked, "What is it, sir? Please tell me." Junsu said the protection fee for this market is only half the price of the Dagger. Hearing that the person who was just attacked exclaimed, "What?" Then we won't have to worry about Jun's scary expression asking if he's arguing. This person immediately became frightened and spoke up, "Of course not. I think our boss will understand." The voices of the two talking weren't quiet, of course this was Jun's intention, so the merchants nearby could clearly hear them and happily chimed in. Wow, reducing half the protection fee, he's the hero of the Sing-Won market. In Jun's heart, he secretly rejoiced. This is the reason I've been dealing with this hassle all along, haha. At this moment, the merchants approached Jun. Continuously bowing their heads, they thanked him. "Thank you very much." Jun smiled and waved his hand, saying, "No, I'm just doing what needs to be done. Just remember to give me a discount in the future." The merchants happily agreed. "Of course, anytime we will give you an 80% discount." In Jun's heart, he was overjoyed, secretly saying that the Sing-1 market was clearly a bargain. Moreover, it also increased the favorability of the NPC merchants. The next morning, the merchants in Seoul had reopened their shops, and Kim Chun-bok was no exception. He saw Jun enter his shop and warmly welcomed him. "I've heard a lot about you from other merchants. You are the hero who helped Seoul." Jun smiled with squinted eyes and replied, "I'm just doing what I should do. Don't be modest. Those gangsters caused a lot of trouble. Look at this, I had to close my shop because I got involved in a fight and broke my arm." Chun-bok raised his injured arm and sighed, saying, "Oh no. Are you okay now?" "I was treated with Qigong. Luckily it worked. If it weren't for the therapist, I would probably still be stuck in the hospital." Jun was surprised and asked, "Is there a Qigong doctor at Super Lim?" "That's right. Do you need me to introduce him?" "He's very skilled." Jun smiled and said, "I appreciate it, but first I need to buy a few things." "Of course, feel free to look around. We have everything except the things we don't have." Jun didn't go to check the junk here. He looked straight at Chun-bok, who was stepping on the floor with his foot laughing and asking, "There are many quality items here." "But can I see the items down there?" Chun-bok was startled and asked, "How did you know?" Jun smiled and replied, "I have my ways." In his heart, he secretly thought, "Don't underestimate a gamer with 10,000 hours of playtime like me. Is there a secret I don't know?" Chun-bok didn't refuse. He led Jun down to a room downstairs, opening the door while looking back at him. "I usually don't let first-time customers see. But for you, I will make an exception." Jun smiled and said, "Thank you very much." When the door opened, Chun-bok introduced, "This is the collection of magical products. Feel free to look." Jun happily exclaimed, "Wonderful." He couldn't wait and went to observe each item, the final destination being the ancient god's flute. He lifted this item with both hands excitedly, thinking, "I've had many unique items while gaming, but above all, the ancient god's flute seals the technique of cultivating magical power. This is the jackpot. Now that I have this top-value item in hand, it's time to make everything useful, hee-hee." A moment later, the two returned to the upstairs shop. Jun placed the ancient god's flute along with a few items he had chosen on the counter. "These are the items I will take today." Chun-bok looked over the items and was astonished. "As expected, you have a good eye. 5 colored diamond magical gloves and the ancient god's flute all are rare items." Then he quoted the price. "Your total is 2 billion won." Jun's eyes widened as he exclaimed, "Oh my god, 2 billion. Chun-bok laughed and said that was the price for strangers. "But since you are the guardian angel for this market, I can offer you a more reasonable price of 500 million won." Junsu sighed in relief and said, "Chun-bok, you almost scared me." After that, Junsu paid Chun-bok, who carefully wrapped up the items and gave him an 80% discount from the NPC due to high favorability. "Great, now all I need to do is find a superhero priest who can lift the seal on this item. And of course, I already have a clue about where to find that person." Thinking of this, Junsu smiled and asked Chun-bok, "By the way, can I get the address of the Qigong healer?" That afternoon, Junsu followed the address provided by Chun-bok to the front of a house. He knocked on the door and called out, "Is anyone there?" Not hearing a response, Junsu suspiciously leaned in close to the door and whispered, "It seems he has gone out." Just then, the door suddenly opened and a young man peeked out and asked, "What do you need so early in the morning?" Junsu quietly observed this person. "Oh, white hair and pale face, just right. This is the person I need to find." Junsu thought happily and said, "It's afternoon now. Do you really call this early morning?" The young man replied to me, "Yes." "What brings you here?" Junsu scratched his head and explained, "Well, I heard your treatment methods are very good." Upon hearing this, the young man seemed to transform into a different person and cheerfully said, "Oh, so you are a customer? I thought you were one of those thugs. Please come in," as he led Junsu into the room. The young man pointed to the single bed and said, "Here you can lie down." "Where are you injured?" Junsu didn't rush to answer. He looked around the room and then fixed his gaze on a statue, thinking this statue being here seems right. It looks like it's him. The young man suspiciously asked, "What are you doing? You could lie down on that bed," but now Junsu turned back to look at the young man. He took out the ancient god's flute and said, "Actually, I didn't come here to get treated. I came here to ask you to remove the seal on this." The young man waved his hand and said, "Remove the seal. I'm just a Qigong healer. It seems like a holy seal. You could go to a temple to ask them." Junsu explained, "No, because places like that would demand a very high price and I could lose my item." Then he opened a bag full of cash and placed it in front of the young man. "If you can remove the seal on this item, I will give you 100 million won, Priest Kim." Priest Kim was surprised and asked, "You know my name?" Junsu smiled and replied, of course in his heart he thought Priest Kim is the third guiding character of Axon Soul. He is a priest of a forgotten religion serving a god who disappeared 3,000 years ago. He is one of the few very pure and kind-hearted characters. In the game with many criminal priests in Ascension, it's hard to find someone with such a warm heart. In other words, I could take advantage of him. Priest Kim hesitated and asked, "How do you know that?" Junsu held the ancient god's flute towards Priest Kim and said, "I will keep it a secret, so please help me." Priest Kim sighed, took the flute, and said, "I don't think this is an easy task." "But all right, I will try," Junsu thought happily as expected from a good person. Then the two sat down right on the floor. The ancient god's flute was placed in front of them. Priest Kim, with a serious expression, reached out towards the flute and attempted to break the seal in an instant. The outer layer of paper showed signs of loosening. "Oh, it works," he exclaimed softly. Priest Kim continued to persistently channel his magic towards the ancient god's flute. The signs of loosening on the paper became more apparent, and eventually the paper completely separated and fell to the ground, revealing the true form of the item. Radiating a dazzling golden light, the ancient god's flute could be recognized as possessing the technical property of the Inheria cultivation. Priest Kim exclaimed in amazement, "It really works." Junsu praised, "As expected, your skills are amazing." When Priest Kim saw the effect of the ancient god's flute, he was astonished and exclaimed, "Goodness. Is this a technique for cultivating magic?" Junsu cheerfully confirmed, "That's right, thank you so much." He raised the ancient god's flute to his mouth and blew into it. As the sound of the flute echoed, Junsu felt a rush of magic energy within him. He sensed the amount of magic energy that had been wasted in his body before. Now it was being absorbed. The system notified him that he had received the technical property of Inheria cultivation. Junsu thought to himself, "The effect is truly amazing, just like the calm currents of the Northern Sea. In about 2 weeks, I will be able to absorb all this magic energy and reach the 3rd-level superhuman," Priest Kim said, clapping his hands. "This is the first time I've seen a warrior-type superhuman using a magic cultivation technique." Junsu walked over to the single bed, sat down, and said, "Well, that's not something you see every day." Seeing this priest, Kim advised, "You must be very tired. You can lie down here and rest." Junsu did not refuse and lay down on the bed wearily, saying, "So much information is flooding my brain, I'm so tired." "All right, then, I will ask you to take care of me for a while," Priest Kim said with a smile. "Yes, feel free," Junsu replied. "You paid me a lot of money, so you can rest here as long as you want." Junsu drowsily replied, "Thank you." In his heart, he thought, "He is a good person just like in the game. It's really nice to find a pastor I can trust. All right, it will be beneficial in the long run, so I won't bring any defenses." Junsu slept soundly until late at night when he slowly woke up due to strange noises. He groggily sat up, scratched his head, and softly said, "What noise is that?" Then Junsu saw Priest Kim pouring gasoline into the bag filled with cash he had brought. Junsu became a bit more alert and suspiciously asked, "What are you doing?" Priest Kim did not respond. His eyes were vacant and lifeless as he stood in front of the gasoline-soaked money bag and lit a lighter. "Oh, forgotten God, accept the offering of a believer and resurrect the prayer. Amen." Priest Kim let go of the lighter in his hand, which fell into the money bag below. Junsu, witnessing this scene, became furious and silently cursed. "What the hell? What's happening? Are you crazy?" Junsu hurriedly grabbed the lighter and pushed Priest Kim aside, thinking, "What the hell are you doing? Is this any of your business? What are you planning to burn for this offering?" "I have to burn all the money and teeth for the god," Priest Kim shouted angrily. Hearing this, Junsu's face went blank. "What money? The god of ours only accepts cash. And that's the only way to receive power," Priest Kim explained. Junsu immediately understood the issue. "Oh, I see. And that is the only way to gain power," the Priest Kim explained. Junsu immediately understood the issue, so that's it. This must be the time when you still believed in the gods, right? This time it was the Priest Kim's turn to look puzzled and ask, "What do you mean?" The god that Priest Kim worshipped died 3,000 years ago. Even in this religious game, it hardly has any power. Until the Priest Kim resurrected that god and obtained the training method even so. I don't think he even knows how to properly serve his god. Thinking to himself, Junsu offered advice. "You're wrong. You shouldn't burn money like that. You need to burn and vaporize gold." The Priest Kim looked at Junsu with a skeptical gaze. He meant it sounded like the words of a heretic. "But you've never tried, have you?" Priest Kim expressed disdain and said, "Don't talk nonsense like that. Our church has created and practiced this for thousands of years, but there must be a reason why your god hasn't been resurrected, don't you think so?" Priest Kim immediately fell silent. It is currently very difficult to burn gold, so I have another idea. Since you helped me with the mana cultivation technique, now let me help you back. Sir Priest. After a while, Priest Kim looked at the boiling yellow liquid on the stove with concern and said, I really shouldn't be doing this. Let's stop here. Junsu poured the gold from the pot into a cup and handed it to Priest Kim. Trust me, when you drink the gold, your divine power will increase significantly. Focus and feel if your god responds. If you are so certain, then I will try this time. Saying that, Priest Kim gulped down the cup of gold water Junsu provided. Just a few seconds later, Priest Kim felt the change. His entire body was surrounded by brilliant golden light. Oh my god, this is really effective, much better than burning millions of won. Junsu smiled and replied, the growth will be much faster if you maintain this method. Priest Kim looked at Junsu with sparkling eyes. I don't know how to repay you for this valuable information. Oh, right. I gave you this necklace, said Father Kim, handing a necklace to Junsu. Junsu pretended to be surprised, asking internally, as he already had the answer. It was a holy artifact with healing properties. I believe my spirit will be very happy to know you have this. What I mean is, since you gave it to me, I shouldn't refuse. Junsu said awkwardly, feeling happy inside, almost wanting to dance to Vina House. This deal brings more benefits than I expected. Hey, thinking back, Father Kim's congregation has indeed set forth many good missions. With this in mind, Junsu made a suggestion. Father, would you mind if I prayed to your god? A week later, please stop. I feel like my whole body is turning to gold, Father Kim said, covering his mouth to prevent himself from becoming beautiful after drinking the bottle of golden water that Junsu concocted. But you need to drink more, Junsu said, holding another 10 bottles of golden water, making Father Kim scream in fear. I will be poisoned by magical power. If the magical power keeps increasing like this in such a short time, no way, I assure you that won't happen. So keep praying. Junsu pinched Father Kim's mouth and directly poured the golden water into Father Kim's mouth, secretly laughing. Don't worry. All 4 NPC guides have their unique properties. If the warrior has a strong body, then the priest cannot be poisoned by magical power. This allows him to grow very quickly. Indeed, after being forced by Junsu, Father Kim successfully awakened to level 3 Bishop Father Kim. Father Kim looked at his glowing body in astonishment. I can't believe I've reached level 3. At this rate, I could even become an apostle. Awesome, with this speed, it won't be long before you can become an apostle of the god, Junsu said with satisfaction. Father Kim humbly replied, I still have shortcomings to achieve that. I think you have enough experience to become an apostle now. Anyway, since you've reached level 3, you need to convene a regional council to be officially recognized as a bishop, right? I could develop very quickly, all thanks to you. I will never forget this kindness. Father Kim gratefully said, it's just that I like helping others. Junsu replied, but thought differently. You better not forget that. Become a bishop in the shortest time possible and bring me the relics from the congregation's treasury. By the way, can I ask you for one more thing? I'm planning to convene a regional council, but I'm a bit overwhelmed to go alone. Can you be my bodyguard during the meeting? Other bishops will be there too. Junsu immediately agreed. The next day, Father Kim took Junsu to the meeting point where the other priests, upon learning that Father Kim had reached level 3, couldn't stop praising him, making Father Kim very happy. The scale was a bit small, with only this many people attending the meeting. Junsu was a bit disappointed when suddenly a voice rang out, a pitiful sight as everyone turned their eyes to the door. There was an old priest of the congregation, along with a group of attendants, their faces covered, just stepping in. The bishop has arrived. In response to Father Kim's greeting was a shout. Who gave you the right to organize a regional council, huh, Father Kim? Father Kim timidly replied, all priests in the congregation have the right to organize a council, but that only applies to regular priests. It will be different for a heretic like you. Your level has increased to 3 in just 3 months. There's no way you could level up that quickly through normal means. You must have betrayed to gain that greater divine power. That's absurd. I just found a great way to level up. Despite Father Kim's clarification, the old priest of the congregation ordered to arrest him. Just as his attendants were about to act, Junsu stepped in to stop them. Come on, don't scare the children like that. One of the attendants asked, Who are you? I'm his bodyguard. Junsu replied with a smile. This is the congregation's private matter. Outsiders shouldn't interfere. The old priest said, I told you I'm the bodyguard. I'm not an outsider. Speak more reasonably, old man. Just as the old priest was getting furious, Father Kim, with a pure heart, continued to clarify. After hearing him clarify, the old priest became even angrier and shouted, What absorbing gold, this heretic! How dare you commit such a crime and think you can escape it? This is not heresy. Our God has allowed this. Shut up, heretic. I will personally purify you and offer you to the god in repentance before the eternal flames. As he spoke, the old priest used his staff to shoot a fireball at Father Kim, but unfortunately next to Father Kim was Junsu, so his attack was blocked by the shield created by Junsu. What a blasphemy, old man. The old priest seemed surprised. You blocked my magic, Junsu countered. Are you sure you want to fight against the candidate for apostle? Don't talk nonsense. How could a heretic become an apostle? Father Kim was scared by the angry appearance of the old priest and quickly grabbed Junsu's arm. Superman, I'm not sure why you call me a candidate. Don't worry, eat this and pray. Saying that, Junsu handed a round golden pill to Father Kim on the other side. The old priest was starting to lose patience and threatened Junsu. If you don't want to be burned like that guy, step aside. If I can prove Father Kim is an apostle, what do you think? Junsu smirked eagerly, anticipating the great play about to unfold. The old priest, still confused, saw a brilliant aura enveloping Priest Kim. The one kneeling on the ground praying is from the apostle, the old priest exclaimed. Seeing the terrified expression on his face, Junsu secretly felt pleased, thinking, look closely, are you surprised? This is why I didn't turn Priest Kim into an apostle yesterday, that useless old man. Not only that he is also a main villain radiating pure evil energy, I should eliminate him right here. The condition for Priest Kim to awaken his apostle traits is that he must swallow a golden artifact from another sect while being accused of blasphemy by the bishop. It won't be hard to turn Priest Kim into an apostle. The transformation process will end just as Junsu draws his sword coldly, declaring, "It's time to teach these blasphemers a lesson." Junsu slightly tilted his head, asking Priest Kim, who was standing behind him. "Priest, may I ask your god one thing? Yes, how should I punish those wretched souls willing to harm their brethren out of jealousy?" And he doesn't just do this simply, but also commits many other vile acts. The old priest was startled, asking, "How do you know this?" At the same time, after consulting his god priest, Kim provided an answer. He said to purge the sect. This is the word of the god, so I cannot disobey right, almost in an instant. Junsu rushed to the old priest, striking down and taking his life, having eliminated the villain before he could cause trouble later. Junsu felt satisfied, thinking that Priest Kim, with his pure soul, witnessed this scene and couldn't help but feel sorrow, but he is still our bishop. Junsu waved his hand, saying, "You don't need to pity him. He deserves the consequences." And now what does the god tell you to do next? He said to go to Levan, where the first church council was established and gold was offered to him there. See, I told you gold is the right choice. Go there and expand your influence. Junsu smiled, adding in his heart, "Done. Then repay me for what I have done for you today." Not wanting to keep Junsu waiting, Priest Kim, grateful for Junsu's help, gifted him a few valuable items from the vault. Among them were two things Junsu wanted. Finally, his first holy sword worth 1 billion, and what else, a holy statue radiating holy power. Surrounding the holy site was filled with holy energy, a skill that could turn a specific area into a safe zone at the owner's will. If enemies intruded, it would emit energy to repel or suppress them. In other words, I no longer have to worry about being ambushed while training. Now let's play with these new items. The scene shifted to Junsu looking tiny in the bathtub. He shivered slightly, saying, "Maybe I've trained a bit too hard." Even the recovery potions weren't very effective anymore, but even so, I still have plenty of time to practice the Holy Light technique and the mountain-breaking sword technique. I can feel my power significantly increasing, ready to check the results. After a period of diligent training. Thinking of this, Junsu took out his phone to call Choi Seo to see if he needed help with anything. "We are currently facing a few issues right now." Choi sighed, saying, "Do you remember the first dump?" "Of course, how could I forget it?" Junsu replied in his heart, recalling that this was the first place I realized the spiritual attributes of those terrifying monsters. The entire cleanup team that went in there was brutally murdered, which means at least 6 mutants are there. Shouldn't we contact the Protection Association? The state officials requested us to keep it a secret. They don't want to make a big deal out of it. At least a few people would be fired if this got out, so what's the reward for cleaning that up? A bit stingy, 100 million for a level 1 and 300 million for a level 3. On top of that, they give a holy relic from the acid field with a special effect. Junsu was immediately attracted by the reward from the acid field. What kind of effect is that? It depends on you. That's an item used by the bishop of the congregation. This is the image of the saintess appearing in Junsu's mind, making him excited. A request I can't refuse, haha. The rifle used by the bishop of the congregation will cause a black fire effect on the target hit. This is quite a valuable item. So Junsu didn't hesitate and accepted the mission, immediately heading to the mission point. Junsu was hit by the foul, polluted atmosphere here. It was dizzying. No one had cleaned this place, and it had become polluted in just a few days. Something feels off. I can't see far ahead. The range of vision has been limited. I must prepare carefully for a surprise attack. Just then, the noise of monsters came from many directions, making it impossible for Junsu to pinpoint their locations. Just as Junsu aimed his gun in one direction, he sensed movement behind him. Immediately, Junsu turned around and fired at the monster charging at him from behind. It caused the monster pain, changing its direction to fly up into the sky. It was the leader. Junsu continued to shoot at the monster and then discovered its wings could withstand bullets. Suddenly, the monster dove down towards Junsu. Luckily, he managed to dodge in time, otherwise he would have been in serious trouble. The enemy can withstand bullets fly and is agile. I will be at a disadvantage if this battle drags on. In this case, I must end it with a precise shot, Junsu thought as he raised his gun just before the monster got too close and fired a shot that hit right in the forehead, directly sending it to meet its ancestors while also harvesting a new attribute. I'm winning now. Not to mention I just learned a high-level shooting attribute, hee. Junsu hadn't had time to celebrate when he heard the roar of a monster. This is troublesome. The mutants are coming here because of the noise earlier. I can't face all these monsters like this. In a tough situation, Junsu suddenly had a plan. First, he used the stealth attribute to hide in a corner and waited. Sure enough, a moment later, the monsters arrived and surrounded him. The corpse of the monster that Junsu had just taken down was just waiting for this. Junsu immediately threw a grenade and then continuously fired at them. I should apply more battle tactics. Junsu triumphantly looked at the monster corpses lying scattered on the ground and then exited stealth mode. Little did he know he had underestimated the enemy because at that moment, he realized he was surrounded by monsters. What these guys made no noise when approaching, so I didn't notice their presence. But they are not mutants. They are ghosts summoned by a dark sorcerer. Indeed, while Junsu was thinking of a plan, one of the monsters suddenly spoke. Superhuman, I have something to discuss. How are these guys talking? Junsu was somewhat surprised to see the monsters and then understood when he saw the speakers attached to their heads. The one who wants to talk to me must be the one who summoned these zombies, Junsu guessed. At this moment, the speaker on the zombie's head continued to transmit the message. I want to ask you one thing. Why did you invade our territory? Your territory, Junsu wondered, questioning how calling a polluted site their territory. Just a few seconds later, Junsu quickly found his own answer. I understand now the External Protection Association is a charity organization specializing in cleaning up polluted magical energy. But in reality, they are one of the most notorious villain organizations. Ascension cleaning up the magically polluted area is just a cover for their true nature, ready to do any dirty deeds to expand their influence. This incident must also be due to them behind the scenes. They create situations where the government has no choice but to ask for help due to their power and influence. Meanwhile, they exploit these incidents as an excuse to fire officials who are hostile to them. At this moment, the other side said, if there's no reason to continue this battle, let me make a suggestion. You are a talented person. Why not join the Protection Association? Junsu laughed and replied, join the organization that causes attacks from mutated creatures in the dump. I'm serious. With your skills, you could be in the top tier of the association. Forget it. Junsu flatly refused, giving the middle finger affectionately. Just hearing the name of the association doesn't suit me. Not cool at all. It seems you don't know your place. If you don't want to join, you can participate after becoming a zombie warrior. Just as the wizard finished speaking, the zombies rushed to attack Junsu. Junsu used firearms to counterattack, causing the monsters to fall like flies. But quickly, the body parts of the monsters began to reconnect and return to their original state. Realizing that firearms were ineffective against the monsters, Junsu actively switched to using a sword, because the Holy Light attribute would be very effective against dark attribute monsters. Wait, a sword, aren't you an assassin? The monster hadn't finished conveying its words when it was already cut down by Junsu. Speak less, kid. I will find you and send you off soon. And then, thanks to the superior attributes, the battle against the monsters became easier for Junsu. However, there were too many monsters, so to avoid exhausting himself, Junsu decided to change his strategy. In addition to specialized attributes that increase endurance such as strength, vitality, speed, protection, resilience, and perseverance, Junsu also has the special attribute of the artifact, which is recovery. The recovery attribute from the chain gloves and the steel gloves, along with the holy sword attribute from the sword, increased the total number of attributes used from 6 to 9. After equipping them, Junsu tried swinging his sword. Overall, it was effective to some extent, but that was not enough to deal with a horde of monsters like this. So soon, Junsu began to feel dizzy from exhaustion. At that moment, he unlocked a new attribute, Quick Dash, allowing him to dash straight forward over a certain distance, causing damage along the way. Thanks to this attribute, Junsu dashed like the wind, taking the life of any monster in his path. Not stopping there, Junsu continued to try to link the attributes together and unlocked an additional attribute, Jump, which combined with Quick Dash made escaping from encirclement as easy as flipping a hand. As for these small shrimp-like monsters, I could wipe them out in an instant. A moment later, the monsters were completely cleared by Junsu, and a surprising sound came from the loudspeaker. "I didn't expect you to be a knight. That makes me want you even more." Junsu turned to look at the source of the sound and confidently challenged, "Then show yourself." What kind of fool of a wizard would confront a warrior directly? "This is a gift for you, heh heh." The wizard chuckled and gifted Junsu a gigantic present. The level 2 zombie servant of Karen swung its shovel down towards Junsu, who hadn't yet recovered from the blow. Junsu silently cursed, hoping not to keep him waiting too long. Junsu quickly jumped to avoid it, but at that moment an unexpected arrow shot through his back. "Ha ha, I see your attack isn't too bad. You will be a useful member of my zombie army," the summoner said smugly through the loudspeaker. "This reminds me of a rule in Ascension. When fighting against 1 million summoners, you cannot attack their minions. You can summon them, but you have to find that summoner." Junsu thought to himself as he charged to attack the monster, but in reality he slipped between its legs to escape. He quickly scanned the surroundings and spotted a figure standing on the second floor. Junsu swiftly used the Quick Dash to evade the monster's pursuit while closing the distance to the summoner. "This rat only knows how to destroy," Junsu angrily muttered. Looking closely at the summoner, Junsu realized he was Karen, a 1 million summoner of rank R. He was a leader of the Protection Association and the final boss of this stage. "You're starting to use your brain a bit, huh?" Karen was slightly surprised to be discovered, but he quickly adapted. "Things aren't going according to your plan." "You will never touch me." Karen raised both hands to the sky, and immediately countless mana hands like tentacles reached out to control Junsu, clearing the way for arrows to pierce through him. This made him unable to hold back a painful scream. "I love the echo of your scream, so you should know your place, my friend," Karen said excitedly as a bright red sphere began to form in his hands. That was Karen's ultimate skill, Dark Fire, Junsu thought to himself while trying to break free from the control. Seeing Junsu's struggling appearance made Karen smile even wider teasingly, saying, "Is this all the power you have? Quite adorable for this final battle, isn't it? You're mistaken. I haven't even used my full strength yet. If I equip the right attributes when facing a summoner like you, something interesting will happen. Did you know?" As he spoke, Junsu rearranged his attribute board, including the skill Mountain Sword Break. "Stop rambling and die." Karen angrily shouted and shot a fireball at Junsu, unaware that his end was near when 3 combined skills harmonized perfectly with magic and physical strength. Then the skill appeared when the user faced danger. The ultimate sword energy could cut through all tangible and intangible objects, so Junsu's sword cleaved the fireball in half. To Karen's astonishment, Junsu continued to gain a new attribute. Thunder Fury Swordsmanship, the strongest technique that only those who reach the pinnacle of swordsmanship can comprehend. After delivering the finishing blow to Karen, Junsu lay exhausted on the ground. Despite his fatigue, he couldn't hide his joy and softly said, "I almost bit the dust. However, I have defeated a level 3 superhuman and the dungeon boss Karen in the game. To hunt it at level 2, a comprehensive team is needed. Even at level 3, one cannot solo it. If I only had normal attributes and equipment, I could only win because I've played the game for over 10,000 hours. Regaining his strength, Junsu stood up and laughed, "Ha. Now let's go collect the loot." About an hour later, Junsu was in Choi SEO's office. In the room besides him and Choi SEO, there were 3 other staff members from the commission. The mission was sent to reward him. Currently, Choi SEO, with a flattering expression, was continuously fanning Junsu. "Did you really clear that place full of anomalies? You are truly amazing." Junsu proudly leaned back in his chair, resting his feet on the table, and said, "Oh, it's nothing." But suddenly he remembered there were 3 other people here. So he quickly pulled his feet back and hugged one arm, exclaiming, "Ouch, I got hurt there, be careful." Choi SEO appeared worried and said, "Oh no, I'm sorry for harming your precious body." The 3 staff members from the Mission Commission couldn't help but look on. The 2 third-rate performers among them, one with blonde hair, spoke up, thanking him for his actions. "You're a superhuman, I can't believe it. You have defeated all those mutants." Getting to the main point, Junsu and Choi Seo also sat up straight. "I was just doing my job. By the way, when I entered the junkyard, something completely different from the request happened. Do you recognize these things? As he spoke, Junsu took out some electronic items he had collected from the zombies in the junkyard, revealing these items. The blonde man immediately recognized them, his face filled with astonishment as he exclaimed, "This is a mana chip used to create phantoms. It was used by Karen from the Protection Association." Junsu seriously replied, "That's right. This incident wasn't an accident. It was intentional," the blonde man said, angrily slamming his hand on the table, cursing the Protection Association, those bastards. Seeing this, Junsu asked, "It seems you don't like those people either." The blonde man gritted his teeth and said, "They always set unreasonable prices, so in the past we struggled a lot. We had conflicts, but I never expected them to turn innocent people into mutants," he thought, noticing the expression of the blonde man. Junsu concluded that he didn't know which was understandable, as the true evil face of the Protection Association only began to show after players completed the junkyard mission. At this moment, the blonde man bowed to Junsu and said, "I apologize, superhero, for putting you in unnecessary danger because of us." Junsu humbly replied, "I was just doing what I had to do to blow away the bad guys." But in his heart, he secretly hoped, that's right. He better have something to give besides an apology. The blonde man pushed a suitcase toward Junsu and said, "This is the reward we promised." Junsu accepted it, opened it, and was surprised to ask, "Thank you, but why are there two packages?" The blonde man smiled and explained, "One is an acid gun and the other is an extra reward for doing something very dangerous." Hearing this, Junsu happily accepted, "Oh, thank you," saying that Junsu began to examine this extra reward, is this holy water. Receiving essential elixirs for free instead of having to buy them at the temple was so fragrant. Just as Junsu was delighted with the reward, the blonde man said again, "But stay safe, superhero. We plan to accuse the Protection Association based on the evidence you provided." However, before he could finish, Junsu opened his mouth, predicting, "They will try to retaliate against me." The blonde man confirmed, "Yes, that's right, but we can't overlook such a big issue." Junsu's expression was as usual as he said, "I will be fine. I always find a way to survive." The conversation didn't last long, and soon 3 employees from the commission left. Cho Sel was responsible for driving Junsu in the car. Cho Sel spoke up, "Superhero, it might be a good idea to temporarily hide to avoid the Protection Association." Junsu thought for a moment and then replied, "I don't think that's the best idea." In his heart, he secretly thought that after completing the junkyard mission, players would receive a chain quest. This would lead to an unavoidable conflict with the Protection Association. It was natural since players had caused trouble for them, not to mention killing the director of the association, Karen. The important thing was that the quest line of the Protection Association branched out into many paths, and the worst among them was doing nothing and wasting time in that case. The president of the association would attack the player's house along with a bunch of superheroes. On the other hand, the guy with the lowest difficulty was... Junsu turned to Choi Seo and asked, "Director, have you ever heard of a place called John Ubong?" Choi Seo replied, "Of course, it's a forbidden area located in the south of Seoul, right? There's a large poppy field there. There was a large poppy field there, so you'll get into trouble when you go there." Junsu said that place is owned by the Choi SEO Protection Association, and he exclaimed, "What? What is the Protection Association doing that they are planting poppies?" Junsu said it's not just poppies. They are conducting body modifications and human trafficking there. They are no different from a flashy crime organization. Choi SEO angrily exclaimed, "What are these crazy people doing?" Junsu calmly replied, "That's right. So I'm planning to attack John Ubong first." Upon hearing this, Choi SEO's hands shook, almost losing control and crashing onto the sidewalk, but he managed to react in time. Driving normally again, Junsu nonchalantly held up his phone screen towards Choi SEO, saying, "I need a lot of things, so here. It's a list of things to prepare." Choi SEO glanced over and frowned, speaking up. "Min Claymore and Min MB, what are you planning to start a war or something? Buying these things will be very expensive." Junsu laughed and said, "Only a rookie would worry about money." After that, he handed Choi SEO a long box, saying, "Here, these are the items I collected when cleaning out the monsters in the junkyard." Choi SEO quickly took it and said, "That place will cover the costs, but I assure you, you can't fight the association alone. The president is a level 4 superhuman, and the directors are level 3. Junsu smiled and said, "I never said I would fight alone." Cell exclaimed in surprise, "What?" Junsu mysteriously smiled and said, "For now, don't worry about anything. Just focus on gathering the items on the list." 2 days later, in the evening near the observation point, John Ubong had 2 men with guns standing guard. Suddenly, an invisible hand struck one of the guards hard on the neck from behind. He barely had time to scream before collapsing to the ground. The remaining guard, seeing this, fearfully raised his gun and shouted, "Who is it?" Then he felt a sharp pain in his stomach and lost consciousness, collapsing to the ground. A second later, Junsu appeared with a silenced gun in hand. He chuckled softly. "Ah, sneaking in is so fun. No matter how many times I do it, it still feels thrilling. Now the outer guards are about to check underground." Saying that, Junsu took out his phone to contact Kim Tiet-Kuyen. Meanwhile, in another location, Kim Tiet-Kuyen knocked out a man with one punch while holding the phone with the other hand, saying, "I'm listening, Soldier Kim. Thanks to you clearing the way, we easily took over the underground area." He then looked at the people being held captive there and continued, "But they are indeed the bad guys. They are forcing body modifications and trafficking people. They have gone too far." Junsu spoke up. "That's right, they deserve to be wiped out. Have you checked?" Kim Tiet-Kuyen replied, "Yes, this is indeed a serious modification workshop." Junsu said, "Once you're done, you can take it. It will help you enhance your abilities." Kim Tiet-Kuyen responded, "Sounds good. But are you sure you can handle the Protection Association? It will be troublesome if we get implicated in the aftermath." Junsu laughed and replied, "Of course, are you ever seen me do something reckless?" After hanging up, Junsu quietly said, "The observation point John Ubong is their main source of income, yet the security is quite lax." He then took out a lighter. He lit the lighter and laughed strangely. "So it's the best place to kick off the collapse of the association." The next morning at a skyscraper in the city, a member of the Protection Association rushed into a room shouting, "President, urgent news, John Ubong has been attacked." The president of the Protection Association backyard job was looking at the city below through the glass window. Hearing this, he frowned and glanced at the informant, asking, "What do you mean?" The informant replied, The president of the Backyard Job Protection Association was standing and looking at the city below through the glass window. Upon hearing this, he frowned and glanced at the informant, asking, "What do you mean?" The informant replied, So the name that took action against Director Karen has also taken over the point of John Ubong." The informant who just mentioned this was horrified and gaped in shock upon seeing Daejun's fury. Punching a hole in the stone desk, his eyes filled with murderous intent, he roared, "How dare he attack us so brazenly!" The informant, trembling with fear, pulled out a phone and nervously handed it to D-Jop, saying, "Besides that, he also sent this." D-Jop took the phone and looked at it. When he saw a selfie of Junsu posing with a raging sea of flames behind him, D-Jop immediately crushed the phone and yelled loudly, "That bastard burned our farm! It's Kim the warrior, right? I'll deal with him and tear him apart!" The next morning, a large number of armed people split into teams of 5. Coming from various directions, they approached John Ubong's point. They were members of the Protection Association heading to eliminate Junsu and reclaim the point. Deja vu, one of those teams of 5. When they were still a few hundred meters away from the point, they stopped to observe. The bald leader saw black smoke rising from the point and, gritting his teeth in anger, spoke up. "He really burned down the poppy camp." The guy with colored hair behind also chimed in, "That warrior Kim. He must be insane!" The bald leader turned to the people behind and shouted, "All we need to do is catch that madman. Let's quickly infiltrate and resolve the situation. Show the chairman the power of the outer circle." The crowd shouted in unison, "Understood, let's move forward." The bald leader turned back to remind the guy with colored hair. "He might be watching us from inside the building. Be careful," the guy with colored hair warned. "Understood, we'll blow him away as soon as we spot him." Just as he finished speaking, he noticed a gun barrel sticking out from a slightly open window. He quickly pointed towards it and shouted, "Wait, there's a gun at that window!" The bald leader reacted quickly, raising his gun and aiming at it, firing a bullet. The bullet shattered the window and the gun fell out. The bald leader, pleased, said, "My prediction was right." The guy with colored hair praised, "You're really something, Captain." Just then, the ground suddenly shook, causing the group to wobble slightly. The crowd panicked and exclaimed, "What is that?" The bald leader also looked back in suspicion and saw a massive explosion erupting from the crowd behind, instantly causing numerous casualties. The bald leader shouted in horror, "Damn it!" The guy with colored hair was even more frightened than him, trembling and asking, "What should we do?" "Captain!" Before the bald leader could respond, he heard someone shout, "Captain, look out, a missile!" Hearing this, the bald leader instinctively looked up. He saw a missile heading straight for him. The bald leader's eyes widened as he muttered, "Damn it!" Then there was a thunderous explosion and dust shot up high into the air. In the control room, Junsu, with dark circles under his eyes, watched this scene on the monitor and laughed. "Hey, it's great to stay up all night setting bombs." He then looked at the stealth attributes on the attribute board. Smirking, he said, thanks to my unique attributes, they couldn't detect me in advance. I'm not crazy enough to confront 100 of you. I'll be down here in the underground control room. I'll kill all of you. After saying that, Junsu placed his hands on 2 red buttons on the table, activating bombs in other locations. Suddenly, explosions echoed around the point non-stop. Wiping out all life within the blast radius, only one team of 5 remained unscathed. They stood calmly in a protective cage led by none other than D-Jop. When the explosion ceased, D-Jop, with a contemplative expression, spoke. Unlike appearances, it seems he was well prepared. The one who dared to provoke us is indeed different. At this moment, one person from the team of 5 stepped forward and said, Leave it to me. I've completed my analysis of his tactics. This person is a 3rd-level superhuman rank G. The vice president of the Protection Association, D-Jop, seemed to have great confidence in the superhuman, and not only did not stop him, but also smiled and said, Bring him back alive. I want to kill him as painfully as possible. With that, the superhuman led a group of people forward. One of them threw a grenade to the spot in front of them. Not far from the explosion, this name announces safety here. Sai picks up the good sound, just throw a grenade to check for traps, and slowly approach the one who just threw the grenade, shouting to follow orders. Suddenly, Sai noticed a rocket flying towards him from above. He did not dodge, but used the weapon in his hand to deflect the rocket in another direction, causing it to explode. Then the vehicle turned back, looking at a man holding a sniper rifle, asking if he understood. The sniper replied, then he was shot from the right side of the rooftop. After finishing his words, this man aimed carefully and fired a bullet, successfully destroying the rocket launcher on the rooftop where Jun was. Sue arranged the vehicle and smirked, saying, Perfect, we are close to the target. Show him hell. He might be tasting it already. Quickly, Sai's group successfully entered the target area. Junsu, through the surveillance screen, saw the entire process and thought Sai's group is indeed ruthless. While contemplating, Junsu suddenly saw the alarm light on the table light up. He immediately stood up and said with a smile, They are coming faster than I thought. The assassination mission is indeed worthy of its name. A few seconds later, the doorknob outside was shot off. Why are they hiding underground like rats? Come on, play with us. Amid laughter, 2 girls armed with guns entered the room. These 2 girls are Ebony and Viper, 3rd-level superhumans, G-rank directors of the Protection Association. Seeing no one in the room, Viper and Ebony spoke up, Well, wait a minute, did he know we were coming? The 2 of them had no idea that Junsu had used stealth and feigned death to become invisible, standing right next to them. Of course, he knew the plan of the Protection Association was to create chaos in the front. To pretend to engage in a war of attrition while the assassin directors acted from behind, I naturally know all your tactics. Here, eat this, Junsu thought to himself as he activated a stun grenade and threw it on the floor. It caused a noise that caught the attention of Ebony and Viper, who turned their heads to look, temporarily blinding them with the bright light from the stun grenade. Junsu seized this opportunity to dash outside, laughing and saying, I don't have time to play with you guys, bye. Ebony and Viper realized they had been trapped by Junsu, but currently they couldn't see anything, so they could only feel angry. Yelling, You bastard, when I catch you, I'll tear you apart! Junsu didn't have time to pay attention to them and hurriedly ran up the stairs, thinking that the assassins would catch up quickly and he needed to move fast. However, just as Junsu reached the upper floor, 2 bullets slid past him from behind. Fortunately, they missed and the bullets grazed his head, making 2 holes in the wall. Damn it, I should have defended first. Junsu thought to himself and quickly activated 2 abilities, Mana Shield and Protection. Then he turned back and created a large shield that was big enough to block the entire hallway. This prevented Ebony and Viper from continuing their pursuit. Ebony and Viper shot at the large shield but couldn't penetrate it. Seeing this, Junsu stuck out his tongue in provocation, saying, Shoot as much as you want, I can block it all, heh. Viper, not at all angry, smiled again and raised her gun, saying, You think you can stop our bullets? Do you really think so? After finishing her words, Viper pulled the trigger. This time, the bullet pierced through the shield and hit Junsu, who was running away, causing him to fall to the ground in pain. Viper smirked and asked, How does it feel? The bullet is enchanted to explode. Junsu struggled to get up, cursing, Damn it! Ebony chimed in, Here's another dessert for you, as she shot a green arrow that struck Junsu's hip. This is nothing compared to the pain I'm about to make you feel. Junsu tried to stand up, raising his middle finger at the 2 of them, saying, You guys are just bad people in tight clothes. Hearing this, Viper angrily shouted, What did you say, brat? This will correct your attitude. As she spoke, she rushed forward and kicked Junsu in the face, sending him flying backward. After crashing hard into a large clock, he fell to the ground, struggling to get up. Junsu was suddenly ambushed by a wave of pain, causing him to collapse again. "It hurts, doesn't it? It's a strong poison affecting your arteries. It's hard to endure." Ebony and Viper slowly approached Junsu. Viper reached out and grabbed Junsu by the collar. Laughing and talking, he led him to the chairman just at this moment. Junsu smiled, grabbing her wrist and welcoming her to the destination, sighing in relief, thinking that acting was harder than he thought. Ebony and VIP were surprised by Junsu's unusual behavior. Startled, he exclaimed, "What?" Junsu asked with a smile. "Did you hear that ticking sound? Can't you recall anything?" Ebony and VIP angrily shouted, "What the hell are you talking about?" Junsu smiled dangerously, saying, "It sounds like a giant time bomb, doesn't it?" Without waiting for their reaction, he added more quick glide properties and his own attributes. "All right, let's die here." With that, Junsu dashed away like the wind, covering a distance of 10 meters. Both Ebony and Viper were as strong as Karen in a direct confrontation, and he wasn't sure of victory. "I've sacrificed all my attributes to act and lure them to the clock while catching them off guard because I've set up a pile of phosphorus firepower in the clock. It cost me more than 1,000,000,000 won." Thinking of this, Junsu turned back to look at Ebony and Viper, pressing the control button in his hand, and said with a smile, "Good night, darlings." At this moment, Ebony and Viper finally understood they had fallen into another trap set by Junsu, but it was too late. They could only curse helplessly. Then they were engulfed by a massive explosion. "It seems I have successfully eliminated those enemies. But there are many others coming. I need to quickly recover my strength. Especially since I don't know when that robot will..." Before Junsu could finish his sentence, the vehicle along with his subordinates appeared, looking at the bloodstains next to their comrade's weapon. Sai, furious, gritted his teeth and said, "You defeated Ebony and Viper, huh?" Junsu was not afraid at all. He even winked and smiled, replying, "Soon you'll be like them too, heh heh. Don't expect to die easily. I will definitely torture you until you beg for death." "That's too cruel. Next time try to act more humanely. Continuing to talk is a waste. I will end you here." The vehicle raised its hand, signaling the subordinates to immediately aim their guns at Junsu, but I'm very glad you could come here. That's beyond my expectations. When you reinforced your bodies with machinery, that was exactly what I wanted. Thanks, you fools. You're just helping me gain experience. With that, Junsu pressed the activation button for the 1,000,000,000 explosive he had set up on the ceiling. Then he used a shotgun to fire at the opponent, creating a cloud of dust. All the enemies were wiped out except for the vehicle. Junsu expressed surprise, saying, "How much did you spend on your body?" "Even that mine is useless now. I will tear you apart right here." The vehicle rushed towards Junsu like lightning, using its weapon-enhanced hand to slash away the gun in Junsu's hand, then swung its hand again to attack Junsu. Fortunately, Junsu managed to draw his sword in time to defend himself. Otherwise, he would have been in serious trouble. The vehicle continued to attack relentlessly while Junsu had to focus on defense. That annoying strength was too great. I had to outpace him to gain an advantage. Junsu suddenly leaned to the side and slashed at the vehicle's flank. The result of the collision not only failed to harm the vehicle, but also allowed him to grab the sword and pull back, shortening the distance between him and Junsu. Then he activated the system at his feet and delivered a kick that sent Junsu flying, leaving him in a bad state. His body was wrapped in magical power, reinforcing his weapons, rendering them ineffective, and before Junsu could catch his breath, he jumped straight to kick Junsu in the stomach, and then stomped on him. The arrogant guy stood watching Junsu, who was covered in injuries, and Tram wondered what he expected from his weak body. "I will chop off your hand first to make you understand what pain is." As he raised his hand to prepare for action, he discovered that Junsu now had a gun in his hand. "What's with that gun?" "Looking at your disgusting body, I got an idea," Junsu replied with a smile. "You still don't realize that regular bullets are useless against me, do you? But this is not a regular bullet. It's black fire." The moment it made contact with the black fire, his whole body felt like it was on fire, the pain making him scream like a pig being slaughtered. Your mechanical body operates on magical power, and the black fire burns away all that power. In other words, when the black fire clings to your body, there's no way to extinguish it. That's why I said, you may have modified your body with machinery, but you still have weaknesses. Junsu stood up with his sword, delivering a finishing blow to Sai, then slung the gun over his shoulder and climbed onto the rooftop. Then he opened fire to eliminate the lackeys of the Protection Association. "Without those strong overseers, you're done for. Oh, the sound of my challenge is so pleasant to the ears." Just as Junsu was feeling pleased, a deafening sound rang out, piercing his ears, the battle cry. Has he finally joined the fight? At the same time, below in the yard, a tall, dark figure appeared, his red eyes gleaming like a tiger. Junsu immediately knew he was Park D-Job, a level 4 superhuman and president of the Protection Association. He jumped straight up from the yard to the rooftop on the 5th floor. I have never had to endure such humiliation. I am more than happy to punish you for provoking the Protection Association. D-Job condensed magical power into his arm and charged at Junsu so fast that he didn't have time to draw his sword and took the full force of the attack. His loving punch would have crushed me if I hadn't changed my properties to defense. But fighting defensively, I can't defeat him. Junsu thought using lightning strike to attack, but he just easily dodged it. Then he sneered and said you use those interesting skills. How about this? Junsu drew his gun and shot black fire at D-Job, but he blocked it with a protective shield, then regained the initiative and unleashed a flurry of punches on Junsu. He's too strong. This has been impossible from the start. Park D-Job is a naturally born SR-level character while I am just a starting character and he overwhelms my level. The gap is truly insane. The only way for a level 2 superhuman to defeat a level 4 is for Junsu to activate the mutation properties of his body and muscle to create a mutated state. Warrior Kim directly transformed himself into a monster, knowing that in this form he would lose his rationality at any moment. So Junsu prepared a frenzy glasses that grants the wearer frenzy properties for a limited time. This is exactly what I need right now. Junsu crushed the frenzy glasses in his hand, and immediately a notification appeared, gaining the frenzy state, clearing all distractions from his mind, focusing solely on the battle. Unleashing power beyond limits, the preparation process was coming to an end. It was also the moment Junsu initiated the battle, charging at D-Job with a loving punch. D-Job successfully blocked Junsu's powerful attack with both hands. I don't know what you just used, but one thing is for sure. Things are getting more interesting now. Let me give it a try. D-Job, looking excited, then activated the enhancement state and started a fierce solo battle with Junsu, both of them exchanging punches in an invisible clash. This allowed Junsu to gain 2 new traits, superhuman strength and iron armor, making him feel thrilled as the fighting spirit took over his consciousness. I could do this all day, Junsu said with a chuckle. I admit you've improved a lot. I haven't had a battle like this in a while, but I've analyzed you already. This is my victory, his eyes gleaming red as he confidently declared. Stop messing around, Junsu, angry, threw a punch at D-Job. The result was another hit on thin air. Junsu kept attacking D-Job, but D-Job could easily read his moves and dodge, making Junsu's punches ineffective. You have no fighting foundation, D-Job said. A punch landed squarely in Junsu's stomach, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. You bastard! Junsu angrily swung his fist, looking like an amateur fighter. D-Job ducked to avoid it, then accurately punched Junsu's jaw, sending him flying back 10 meters. This isn't good. He's gaining the upper hand, and the effect of the frenzy trait is weakening. There's no choice but to put everything into this attack. I have to give up close combat. Junsu silently switched his iron armor trait to the core trait. Mana sensed a change in the aura surrounding Junsu, and D-Job, with a wary expression, said, What kind of trick are you plotting now? I will end this here. With that, he rushed towards Junsu, preparing to launch an attack. I admit you're better than me in close combat, as you can see. I'm not a martial artist. I'm a left-handed swordsman. Junsu grabbed D-Job's right hand and held it tight, while his right hand transformed into a sword, directly creating a donut shape on D-Job's stomach. This is a great battle, D-Job murmured before collapsing to the ground in an abnormal state. Feeling the changes in his body, a stream of golden light enveloped Junsu, returning his body to human form. He also leveled up to a superhuman warrior. Thank God I leveled up just in time. What a lucky day, Junsu said before gradually losing consciousness and falling into a coma. When he woke up, he found himself lying in a mana bath. Have I returned home? Just as Junsu was confused, Choi SEO appeared. Hey, superhero, are you okay? Choi SEO rushed over and hugged Junsu, crying. What happened, Director Choi? I thought you really died there. You were lying on the ground with some people from the Protection Guild. Choi SEO sniffled, and his childish demeanor made Junsu laugh. So you brought me home. I see now. I noticed you were still breathing, so I placed you in the mana spring. You were unconscious for an entire week. Oh, you mentioned I recovered quite a bit? You really are amazing taking down the cult by yourself. We've received a lot of calls from the office about this. Choi SEO said excitedly, I knew it, I'm really special. You're not just special, you're incredible, Choi SEO said, giving 2 thumbs up in admiration. Seeing Junsu happy with his eyes squinted in laughter, I collected the spoils from the battle. Take a look and let me know if you need anything else. I have to recover first, and since I have now leveled up to level 3, I have a place. It was a week later when Jun-Soo returned to the superhero building to measure the mana of Kim, a 22-year-old male warrior of level 3 with a 6-class circuit. I will receive the official certification and receive all kinds of wonderful benefits, Jun-Soo thought happily when suddenly applause rang out from behind him. You're amazing superhero. Big Soji praised. I've never seen anyone develop as quickly as you. You'll establish your own country in the future, right? Jun-Soo scratched his head and laughed in response. No, I won't go that far. Can I just get my certification? That's right, of course. Please follow me, Bent Soji said with a smile. After a moment, Bent Soji presented the official certification to Jun-Soo, who couldn't help but exclaim, I'm really envious of you. Jun-Soo was a bit surprised to hear that. Me why? For many reasons. I wish I could be as strong as you, Big Soji replied sadly, looking at her expression, which reminded Jun-Soo of her in the game, making him feel a bit uncomfortable. But soon an idea popped into his head. Do you want to become a superhero? Jun-Soo asked. Of course, who wouldn't want to? Then why don't you become my student? Big Soji was startled by the suggestion. If you want, I assure you I can turn you into a superhero. You can trust me because I can see your potential. You, Big Soji, have no idea how powerful you could become in the future. Hearing that, she couldn't help but feel moved and immediately agreed to Jun-Soo's proposal, a clever decision. You don't need to pay any tuition. Once you become a superhero, you can repay me later.